All right. Welcome back to the Delete Laws channel. What laws do we want to delete? Only the bad ones. Are we against government? We're only against bad government. Are we against law enforcement officers? We're only against bad law enforcement officers. So ask yourself the question, are there good law enforcement officers? I'm not sitting here telling you all cops are bad, but are they? Is government good? Is there any good in government? Are there any good laws? If there are good laws, if there are good police officers, if there is good government, then we want good laws, we want good police officers, and we want good government. We don't want the bad ones. And who does? And I think that's rational. Before we get into this, I really appreciate you guys being here. Let's overturn Terry v. Ohio is here. Ian Cope Dog, thanks for being here. Brick is here with us. Thank you, Brick. KT, thank you guys for taking your time. Time is valuable. The time that you spend with me today, you're not going to get back. So I want to make sure that I make an investment in your time because you're definitely making an investment in my time. I appreciate it. Before we get started, what's up, Gloria? How you doing? What's up, Katrina? Yep, overturn Terry v. Ohio. As a matter of fact, let's take a quick segue. Let's take a look at Terry v. Ohio and look at the quick facts of the case and why is it so important to overturn Terry v. Ohio? What is Terry v. Ohio? Well, let me tell you what Terry v. Ohio is practically. It is practically the supreme law of the land. When the rubber meets the road and you look at what the Constitution is supposed to be and what the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and the Fifth Amendment is supposed to uphold and protect, well, Terry v. Ohio tears all of that down in one fair swoop. And here's the facts of the case. Terry and two other men were observed by a plainclothes policeman in what the officer believed to be casing a job, a stick up, end quote. The officer stopped and frisked the three men and found weapons on two of them. Well, obviously, they weren't there to do any harm because if they were, they would have defended themselves against the police officer because there were three of them, two of which had weapons, and they let the cop frisk them. Terry was convicted of carrying a concealed weapon and sentenced to 3 years in jail. What does that tell us about the mentality of the police officer? First of all, there was no crime afoot. All he had was suspicion, and that's where we get RAS, reasonable articulable suspicion. The second thing is the cop didn't respect, not only did he not respect the Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person, he disrespected Terry's right to keep and bear arms, which is not supposed to be infringed, Mr. Police Officer. But he not only infringed upon that, he broad brush took it away. So obviously the Supreme Court, who's here to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States as well, right? Of course, they thought that was the worst thing in the world. And they were like, police officer, why are you doing that? Give Mr. Terry his gun back and stop doing that to people on the street. That's what the Supreme Court said, right? Nope. The Supreme Court concluded in an 8-1 decision, they held that the search undertaken by the officer was reasonable under the Fourth Amendment, which says you're supposed to make sure that people are secure in their person's houses, papers, and effects, not making them insecure, which is exactly what this cop did. So they said that wasn't even a violation at all. And that's reasonable under the Fourth Amendment, and that the weapon seized could be introduced into evidence against Terry. Why? It's a weapon that you have the right to keep and bear, and nobody's got a right to infringe on the right to keep and bear. So the Supreme Court in one fell swoop says, hey, Americans, you under Terry v. Ohio, you don't have a Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person, and you don't have a right to keep and bear arms, and we're going to go ahead and infringe on that right. That's why Terry v. Ohio, practically speaking, is the supreme law of the land. Get it out of your mind. It is fiction to say the supreme law of the land is the Constitution of the United States. Because what police officers do when they leave the academy is they swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and all the laws, including the ones that conflict with and contradict the supreme law of the land. That's how messed up and upside down and backwards and inside out our world is. Attempting to focus narrowly on the facts of this particular case, the court found that the officer acted on more of a hunch and that, quote, a reasonably prudent man would have been warranted in believing Terry was armed and thus presented a threat to the officer's safety. Officer safety, you don't say. while he was investigating his suspicious behavior. The court found that the searches undertaken were limited in scope and designed to protect the officer's safety incident to the investigation. What is this saying? Officer safety trumps individual rights. Officer safety trumps individual rights. And then we got somebody in the chat room. Enjoy prison, Chili's. That person would not want prison on themselves. And that person would say, well, I wouldn't have done what Chili did. Well, would you sleep in your bed at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? Would you be willing to accept prison if the cops on some anonymous tip broke into your house, terrorized your wife, shot your dog, and threw you into a jail, into a cage? You don't see, in America, you don't have to do anything that is even unlawful. You can actually, you know what? You can go to prison in America for doing the right thing. In Florida, they arrested a 90-something-year-old man who was giving food to homeless people because there was an ordinance against giving food to homeless people. He went to jail for that. 90-something years old. They even cuffed the guy. I mean, what kind of cowardly cop do you have to be? So let me ask you, dude, who said enjoy prison Chili's. Do you think that, I mean, what's the limit? What's the limit? What's the limit in authority that a cop can exercise to apprehend another member of the public, which a cop is just a member of the public with a special uniform, a shiny badge, and the supposed authority of the state? What's the limit at which you would say, wait a second, he probably shouldn't have gone to jail. He shouldn't have gone to jail. Do you believe Daniel Shaver should have been shot dead by Mesa police officer Philip Brailsford? Do you believe that the Minnesota cop was right in offing Philando Castile as he was trying to pull out his CCW, which was requested by the cop? I mean, at which point do you say, yeah, I think Chili DeCastro should be in jail for 180 freaking days for a half a year because he obstructed and he resisted? So based on the arbitrary whim of a badged law enforcer, it's okay to completely take away an American's freedoms and have them rot in a for-profit prison. Unbelievable, man. Sometimes I just wonder if people are just doing this to troll, or if they truly believe down in their soul that it's okay to put somebody away who did not create a victim, who did not harm someone, who didn't threaten to harm someone, who didn't damage property. Well, that's not the way the court sees it, Brian. Well, guess what? The person is wrong. I don't know if he's evil, miss constitutional rights, because I want to leave the gate open for, the correct view on what people are, because there are a lot of people that are indoctrinated. There are a lot of people that are misinformed. There are a lot of people who probably mean well, who probably think that Chili's a threat to society, or their viewpoint and their perspective has been painted by people who are, of unsound character, let's say. So I like to give people a chance. I don't like to, you know what? I want to bring people to our side. And what is our side? And I'm not like a fanboy. I'm here helping Chili as a friend. There's some things that he's done that I tell him straight out, dude, I don't think you should be, man, I would not do that. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal and stamp myself and mint myself as a standard or anything. But I just don't think it's prudent to be talking to easily ego damaged law enforcement officers like that without expecting some kind of repercussion. And injustice is happening to Chili. But we also have to admit that part of that could be his fault. Am I saying that Chili shouldn't have been in jail for 180 seconds, let alone 180 days? He shouldn't have even been given a citation. If Bork wanted him back, he should have told him exactly how far back he wanted. So, basically in the estimation of the court, because they put Chili away 180 days for officer safety and obstructing and resisting, basically what they're saying is any officer can give any arbitrary, enigmatic command with no specifics. And if they don't meet what was in the officer's mind, the idea of where the officer thought he should go, which, by the way, was 55 feet back because he said he should go back by that red semi-truck, that is absolutely unreasonable. Even in the eyes of people who are going to bat for the cops, are going to bat for Zimmerman, are in the corner of the court system and the prosecution. Bork wanted Chile to go back 55 freaking feet. If that is not an infringement on the right to freedom of press, I don't know what is. Yeah, we're going to talk about some of this. But Brian, people ambush police every day. Well, we get ambushed by the cops every day. Jail really slows time down. A day feels exactly like a week, and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's horrific. Should anybody go to jail? Yeah. Who should go to jail? Who should be separated from society and locked into a cage? People that go out of their way to harm other people. And I'm talking about anybody who dares to lift up their hand against any other person. I don't care if they're wearing a uniform badge and a gun, come with the authority of the state, wear a black robe and call themselves a judge, call themselves a politician. If anybody harms anybody or contracts that other people get harmed, those are the people that should be in prison, not somebody who violated some unspoken, unwritten 21-foot, be back as far as you can for my safety. So yeah, Terry v. Ohio is supreme to the Constitution in this police state from the perspective of the law enforcement community and from the perspective of the injustice system. Terry v. Ohio is the supreme law of the land and must be overturned. I completely agree. Does anybody, if you disagree with that, put a 2 in the room and I will try to open up the room later on and you can tell me why you disagree with that. Because practically speaking, exactly, Dave Murphy. Dave Murphy said, right? No victim, no crime. If there is no victim, there can be no crime, because what is a crime? You have harmed somebody else. You have damaged somebody else's property. You've stolen their property and didn't return it. You have defrauded them. It's amazing when cops claim public property is actually private. Yeah, there's just such a vast misunderstanding going on. So thank you guys for being here. Again, if you disagree that Terry v. Ohio is indeed, practically speaking, the supreme law of the land over and above your specifically, I'm not going to generalize the Constitution. Let's just say Terry v. Ohio, practically speaking, in the eyes of law enforcement and the court system, trumps the First Amendment right to freedom of the press and freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and in some cases, the Fifth Amendment. And if anybody disagrees with that, put a 2 in the room and I'll try to remember. You guys help me remember who it was so we can bring them on and they can state their case. Yeah, exactly. Age Go says, why would you want harm to be done on any other human being? That is what's up, Hendry? Hey, oh, by the way, I think I put it below this chat because I know this is what Chile would want. I think I've got a link. If you want to support Chile, the link should be in the description under this video. If you want to support Flex from Flex Your Freedoms, he's out of prison now, and hopefully I'll be doing a live stream with him. And I think I also put a link for Hendry, because I know that's what Chile would want done, and this is what I want done. I want to let people know that there are people out there who need help, who have been caged by the system. It's unfair, and if we can do anything to help people, we're going to do it. All right, so this video right here is from Midwest Safety, and this is where it's called, here's what you shouldn't drive. Here's why you shouldn't drive a fake cop car. Watch the reaction to the cops when they discover that there's another guy on the scene that they cannot quite pinpoint whether he's a cop or not. This is a psychological social experiment to the nth degree. Let's take a look at it.
This alleged police impersonator has cops questioning themselves.
He has work here, but he does.
Unfortunately for this supposed imposter, one misstep in his masterful plans would trigger the beginning of his downfall.
I'm not sure if this is law enforcement or what. He's gonna kill everybody on the road. Dude, if I was an average citizen, I would think that was the cop. You're under arrest right now. Why am I under arrest?
Around midnight on January 21st, 2024.
Yeah, from what I understand, Direct D needs some help too. I saw a community post. It looks like he's reaching out for support on some funds for litigation. KT just dropped the GoFundMe link for Hendry. I'm not sure. I can't look at the video right now. Can you guys make sure that Hendry's? I know I got Flex down there. I'm pretty sure I got Hendry's down there and I got Chili's down there. So can you make sure that the link is underneath the video for Hendry?
An unmarked black cruiser with flashing lights allegedly pulled over a civilian vehicle. The driver of the unmarked cruiser then flagged down a Columbus police officer for assistance. Soon after, a third cruiser arrives as backup. Due to the appearance of the scene, officers expected the stop to be a felony apprehension. Unknown to officers at the time, the whole traffic stop is a fraud.
Fugitive apprehension in van, I don't know what that is. I'm not familiar with it. I was shooting a patch or something, but he stopped his car. He sat there driving all over the road. He's going to kill someone. Yes, from your guys and stuff. He flagged us down and we came over here and see what's going on.
The officers take a moment to look over the legitimacy of the patrol car in question.
I don't know if that's real or not. I mean,
the best prayer to attract wealth begins when you understand that the strongest.
Sorry, guys. Ads coming up here.
No.
The cops can't figure it out. It's like, wow, they look legit. Like we look legit. He's got, looks like he's got the credentials. We're not sure exactly. We don't want to arrest somebody if they're our own, you know? So you can tell they're kind of in mental limbo as far as what they should be doing with this guy. It's hilarious.
It's going to be a felony stop. I'm going to go to 3 with some more information.
Federal apprehension?
Questioning the legitimacy of the plates, the officer
Yeah, I agree, Mark Bear. You should leave those comments that the bootlickers are saying. I understand why people use this term. I'm trying to move away from that kind of terminology, okay? Because I don't think in using that terminology, it's going to, gain anybody for our side. I just think, and I'm not saying nobody should use it. I'm just saying I don't see how it's going to benefit us by automatically helping them, give them an excuse to throw up their defenses, to give them an excuse not to come over to our side, the side that wants justice, the side that wants peace. And I'm talking about true justice. I'm not talking about being a social justice warrior. Justice, the word justice has been just so bastardized, in my opinion, that it's ridiculous. You know what? I am going to open up the phone lines, and I want people who disagree with me, who disagree with people in the chat, to come forward and let's just talk, man. Let's just talk. Because I'm pretty sure people want a peaceful and quiet and safe life. I want to be safe. I want peace. I want a quiet life, but I'm not interested in giving up my liberty to do it. So yeah, I agree, Mark. It's okay. We can handle that. We know that they have serious issues. And there are serious issues when you want an adult to grab another adult when that adult hasn't harmed or threatened to harm or damage anybody's property or stolen property.
forwards the information to dispatch to get an answer.
It's going to be out of Ohio. It's Ocean Frank Adam Paul 39. It might come back as the Ohio Fugitives Task Force. I'm not sure if this is law enforcement or what.
That is the case. 120 Marconi Boulevard is the registered address. It is listed as Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Program.
In an absolutely unbelievable twist of events, it turns out the vehicle was actually registered to the Columbus Division of Police Headquarters. The information causes the officer to say,
It's real.
Did you see that? Did you see that? I mean, in the eyes of these officers, man, this guy's legit. He's got a legit looking badge. He's got a legit looking police car. I mean, it threw us off. The only thing that throws them off is why would somebody with that high a level of clearance be involved in a nondescript traffic stop? What's this all about? And apparently this guy does this a lot.
So it's coming back to your guys' HQ. So I don't know. We'll figure out what we got going here.
All right. Well, that's the Fugitive Task Force guy, ain't it?
Okay. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, that guy's all.
That's that Fugitive Task Force guy. So the cops on this police department are familiar with this guy, know this guy probably lives somewhere in the area. But wait till you see the coup de grace and the extreme irony here.
It's all over the place.
What's the task force and fugitive for anybody?
Good question. I called on them.
Yeah, that's
I waved them down. He was going to kill everybody on the road.
what's going on with him.
Dude, he was going 11 on the road. Went in front.
Okay, just so for clarification, the guy who's talking right now is the guy that the cops are questioning if he's legit or not. This is the guy. He's in an unmarked car. Wait till you see the stuff this guy has inside this car. It all looks legit in the eyes of these officers.
In front of 3 other people. I'm off duty right now. I'm going home. I got all my gear in the back. I can show my credentials and everything.
Yeah, all right. We checked everything.
Hey, what's up? He was going to, real problem. So I just stopped him and I flagged I saw the Mark Columbus police officer. I flagged him down. I said, you need to fucking go talk to them right now. That's it.
Do you have a badge number?
These images, exclusively obtained by our channel's investigative reporting team, reveal what the mysterious agent presented to the
Look at this. He even has a barcode. He's got, I didn't even notice this at first. Look, he's got a little, it's a little chip on his card. I wonder what would happen if you slid this chip or if you scanned this barcode. I wonder what comes up. So in the eyes of the cops, wow, this guy is heavily credentialed. He's got a badge. He's got an ID with all this legitimate looking stuff on it. It feels legitimate. It's laminated with that heavy duty lamination. Holy cow. This right here, the badge and this ID and the way the cop talks to him and the police car has these cops basically in a mental tailspin. They don't even know what to do. But one thing they know they don't want to do is arrest a guy who might be a federal agent. Wow.
officer. We have redacted any personally identifiable information. Notice the seal of the United States embellished on both the badge and ID, hinting at federal authority. The design also heavily resembles an FBI badge. Compare for yourself.
Oh, wow. Oh, you're federal. Okay.
Note that, at least from the perspective of our visuals, they're only
Yeah, his appeal was not denied. It was a bond hearing, so he can't be out on bond during the appeals process. The appeals is still in process, but the appeal bond to get him out of jail while everything was working itself out in the court system was denied. In other words, okay, I'm just going to call it Ann Zimmerman. Ann Zimmerman, who's wearing that black robe for some reason or another. She's wearing that black robe. She thinks she's got authority over everybody else. Has decided we're going to keep a man who didn't create a victim in a cage until the appeals process goes through.
appears to be one officer speaking to the mysterious driver after he is asked if he is a federal officer. This will be important later.
What is it? Your badge number? You have that?
7937.
79. Okay, that's good. Just that way I can put it in the call.
It's a no ops. So I don't know how you guys want to deal with it. You deal with it. It's the first one out here. Yeah, yep. I was punting to him, so I was like, I don't know. Try to make a traffic stop on somebody in an unmarked car. What the fuck? What the fuck is he working for? He's the fugitive task force guy, but he's the one that calls in all this stuff.
He's a fugitive task force guy, which gives him this shield. It's like this shield of immunity in the eyes of the law enforcement. This is so, put a 1 in the room if you view this as fascinating as I do. It's like because something looks legitimate to the cops. Now, if they thought for a second it wasn't legitimate, this guy would have the cuffs on him and he'd be on the ground and then in the back of a police car, and he'd be fingerprinted and thrown into a cage faster than you can possibly think about it. But because they perceive that there's some kind of legitimacy to his authority, they're frozen, man. They're like, we kind of see that this isn't right, or is it? And he looks legitimate. And I don't know what's going on. This is, from a psychological perspective, this is an outstanding case study, let's say.
We thought it was you guys.
That's the main reason we stopped. We're like, some civilian on here making traffic stops?
Yeah. He was just, I flagged down the first marked car that I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a real problem on the road.
He's going 11 miles an hour.
He was going 11 down here. He tried to drive into 2 other cars. The one person.
He was going, I mean, what kind of excuse is that to pull somebody over? The roads look snowy and icy, and the guy was going 11 miles. 11 miles an hour is not very fast. I mean, is the cop saying that was too slow? Or is this fake cop saying it was too slow? Is he saying it's too fast? I mean, he's basically saying, yeah, I was afraid that he would endanger other motorists because he's going 11 miles an hour. I mean, couldn't you come up with something a little bit more convincing than that? But he didn't, and they still bought it.
Person got a little bit road ragey on him,
Yeah.
and was following him like real close. The one guy that was gonna I think they're gonna fight. So I just hit the lights on him real quick. He stopped right here in the middle of the intersection. I gave him commands 11 times on my radio with the lights on. Turn right, turn right, turn right. Get off the road. Get off the road. Keep me following.
Tom Josker says that he's a bounty hunter. I posted this on my page a week ago. So he is a bounty hunter?
Any instructions. I wasn't getting, I got no gear on right now.
Oh,
Everything's in the back, right? I saw the Columbus officer right here. I said, hey, whip around. And then that's where we're at.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot.
Are we good?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's no ops and language line.
Do you want my card?
Sure, why not?
8 sleep pod cover. It's a liquid.
All right, we got another commercial here. Let me click off of this.
Yeah, thank you.
The mysterious driver claims to be part of the Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Program, but officers may be confusing him with the legitimate U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, seeing as they've said task force numerous times.
Even the guy who's in charge of this channel, Midwest Safety, says legit. He uses the word legitimate. What makes a person legitimate? I understand the dangers of impersonating a cop because you could actually use that perception of authority to have your way with say a guy is a pervert and he wants to have his way with women on the road. They drop their guard because it's like, oh, wow, yeah, here's my, we're going to have to take you in, ma'am. Puts him in the back seat of a car that she thinks is a patrol cruiser, and then he takes her to the woods. I understand the danger of doing that, but maybe it would be a good idea for society as a whole not to look at law enforcement officers as having any sort of legitimacy. Then you can't have anybody. Then it doesn't matter if somebody tries to impersonate a police officer because you're not going to trust them. It's probably not a good idea to trust most, if not all. And I'm leaving that dangle there a little bit for a purpose. But it's probably a good idea not to put your trust in and let your guard down around any cop. We all already know that you shouldn't be answering the questions unless you know what you're doing and you know how to talk to police. The best idea is to invoke your Fifth Amendment right to be silent. Here, let me just go ahead and give a plug. Invoke it. Invoke it. The link is in the description or in the About tab. Learn the law. Find out how powerful it is to not talk. Remember that lady named Ruby, what was her name? Ruby Frankie, who did those, looks like she did those horrible things to her kids, and she got convicted along with her business partner about, withholding food from her kids, starving them, not giving them water, making sure they're out in the hot sun with no shoes on their feet, doing yard work in the brutal sun. When she came into the house, she did not talk to police. And it was criticized by the Law and Crime Network. It's like, who does she think she is not talking to the police? But she didn't talk to them. And no matter what you think about Ruby Frankie and what she did in not talking to the police was powerful. Silence is a powerful tool to use against people who are not there for your best interest. They're not asking you about your day and asking you questions because they care about you and they want to benefit you. They want you to start talking so that they can use every word not for you, but against you. So when Ruby Frankie, as bad of a person as it looks like she is, when she exercised and invoked her right to be silent and then remain silent, they didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't have anything that they could do. They didn't have any dirt that they could get on her so they could use it in a future courtroom setting. So when you're encountering law enforcement officers, it's probably not a good idea in the general public of America to trust and let your guard down around these people right here and start talking to them. And then you would diffuse anybody who would want to impersonate a police officer, because why would you want to impersonate somebody? What are a couple reasons why somebody would impersonate a police officer? Because they want authority and power over another person. They want to be able to approach that person and completely have absolute power of them, because they know when you're impersonating a police officer, and even police officers know that when you approach them in your uniform and your shiny badge and with this air of authority, they let their guard down and they become compliant peasants. Only a psychopath, and I'm talking about the fake cops and the real cops, only a psychopath would want somebody to comply with their wishes. Only a psychopath would want to be able to use their power so they can manipulate another person into doing something. Only a psychopath would want to violate consent. Only a psychopath. And I'm talking about a psychopath who would want to impersonate a police officer and a psychopath who would want to actually have the ring of power to become a real police officer. That's why we're going over this right here. The psychopaths in uniform are frozen in their tracks about another psychopath who's presenting himself as a psychopath that belongs to their group, the Thin Blue Line Gang.
At this point, unlike local law enforcement, these task forces specialize in specific cases and operate within particular legal bounds. Charles Sanso, a Marshal Service supervisor for the task force in their area known as the Southern Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team, or Task Force, SOFAST for short, clarifies their procedures. Before a task force can pursue a wanted criminal, a fugitive identification number must be issued and a warrant must be validated. Non-federal task force members have the singular duty of pursuing fugitives and don't have any of the other responsibilities of full-time deputy U.S. Marshals. Typically, fugitive agents avoid interacting with stops like this one due to the questionable legality of the situation, as they can only pursue wanted criminals under those circumstances. A supposed federal officer stopping a non-fugitive for going 11 miles per hour is likely leading to confusion among officers.
Appreciate you.
Yep, thank you.
Have a good night.
Yes. Right? Yeah. He's 10-55. He's always calling me.
Oh,
BS stuff. That there right there.
yeah. You guys have seen him before?
Yeah.
He's always over here.
I've never seen him before.
He's always calling and stuff about 48s and stuff. He's like people from like, well, people out of state. They're saying, like, dude, what do you want us to do with it?
But he's like legit though.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. That's what we were trying to figure out. We were like, is this guy real?
I thought it was either you guys or the.
Is this guy real? Is he one of us? Have you seen him at the local lodge? Is he part of our Thin Blue Line? I don't know. It sure looks like he is.
I was like, I was in security, then I was like, but yeah, he's no ops, and I don't know how we're going to handle it.
Yeah, I'll see what's going on.
Okay, cool. Language line, by the way, too, Spanish. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
At this point, the officers let the mysterious cruiser leave so they can focus on the driver he allegedly pulled over. As you may have heard already, the pulled over individual requires a translator, and he is allegedly no ops or has no operator's license. The officers communicate with him by
He has no operator's license, but they're going to let him go because they feel like he got his rights trampled on by the guy who says he's a fugitive agent.
utilizing a human translator over their radio. They find that the driver is a 20-year-old Hispanic male traveling with other non-speaking individuals. This could possibly be the reason why he didn't immediately pull over when he was instructed to do so by the mysterious cruiser. Allegedly, the passengers in the vehicle also do not have driver's licenses on them. After communicating with the driver, the officers reconvene about the situation.
What are you going to do with it, Ross?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hi,
did
everyone. Mark
you see
Barton
that?
here at Sandy Hook Promise. I'm just
By the way, this guy right here, I feel sorry if what he says happened actually happened, but he wants Congress to create laws that ban certain weapons that the person that shot up his girl's school used to, you know, the report is off a bunch of KIDSs. So basically what he wants is he wants everybody who owns the type of weapon that the guy who offed his daughter used, he wants them criminalized. He wants innocent people criminalized.
December
And
14th, 2012.
that is no bueno.
The officers are likely hesitant to pursue the situation due to the questionable legitimacy of the initial traffic stop. Under the Fourth Amendment, individuals cannot be unreasonably seized without probable cause. If
Did you read that? Let me go back. I wanted to go back to this one part right here. Watch what Ross does, Officer Ross.
convene
Watch
about the
this.
situation.
Hold on, let me make sure I got it large screen so you can see it.
What are you gonna do with it, Ross?
Did you see that? He mouths, "I'm not," because he knows he's on body cam, but the dash cam caught him. How many times do these cops have these secret conversations that they don't want the rest of us to hear? And why don't they want the rest of us to hear them? Because in their exercising of officer discretion, they often are impartial toward injustice. And I'm not saying that because he's not pursuing this, citing this driver or whatever, that he's doing anything wrong. He's actually doing right by doing that. But this is rules for thee and not for me. The reason you have these body cams is to make everything public. Now, he probably didn't think for a second that his dash cam picked it up, but when this guy goes, how are you going to deal with this traffic stop? He says, "I'm not."
Yeah.
Watch it again.
What are you gonna do with it, Ross? Yeah.
The officers are likely hesitant to pursue the situation due to the questionable legitimacy of the initial traffic stop.
And all traffic stops have to be questioning the legitimacy, man.
Under the Fourth Amendment, individuals cannot be unreasonably seized without probable cause. If probable cause is lacking, any related searches or seizures violate this right. The potential that an individual may not have been stopped unless someone impersonated an officer is a serious violation of the Constitution and opens up the potential for a lawsuit. The officers are wisely hesitant to take any action against the driver.
Why is he making traffic stops on my car?
Dude, I thought we were coming out to something good, though.
That's
Like
what I
you were
thought.
saying, like, good job.
They walked up there like no
I
one's.
thought we were coming out to something good. I thought we were going to be able to break out our nightsticks and club somebody. Man, I've been itching to use my taser anyway. Your taser, man, I've been itching to empty this magazine on somebody. God, is there an oak tree around here somewhere?
Near the car, and I was like, so.
Yeah.
That dude making fucking traffic stop.
He did.
Get out of our car.
Yeah, that's why I'm not pushing this at all.
So you guys never dealt with him on second. See,
Thank you for that, Brett Rhea. I appreciate it. What's the matter with you? I don't understand. This narrator sure is an idealist. What narrator are you talking about?
kind
No,
of popular.
I've seen the car, but they were all lined up here like a felony stop. I'm like, what in the world? And I was like, this has got to be Franklin County, and then I didn't see any marks. So I was like,
Because he has the yellow letters up there like it's Franklin
On
County.
the front license plate.
yeah, and me and Columbus were talking, and like, is this guy real? Like,
Now, stay tuned, guys, because these cops right here, these specific cops are about to commit a crime on camera, a grave injustice on American soil. Just wait for it.
is he a real?
Does he just drive around and do whatever the fuck he wants, or like?
Yeah, I guess he reads like plates and he gets like locations of people.
I'm gonna check this guy for warrants, and and we're gonna be done with this.
According to his police report, the officer confirms that the individual does not have any warrants. The officer then uses a translation app to let the driver know he needs to call a licensed driver to leave the scene.
Comprende? Yeah. Cool.
The officer did not issue any citations as he was uncertain of the validity of the traffic stop, and so he drove off, leaving the white car behind. This officer couldn't shake the idea that a federal fugitive task force officer would be making low-level traffic stops. Leaving no stone unturned, the officer used the business card the mysterious driver handed him and decided to do a little homework on exactly what the Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Program actually is. What he found likely brought him great concern for the situation. In the report, he details he found the website for the Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Program to be ohiofap.com. We checked the website ourselves to find it is now a parked domain that is not active. However, at the time of this officer's research, he described the website as a single landing page that shows the seal of the Ohio Department of Insurance and a picture of the badge that was presented to the officer. Using Internet Archival Services and context from the police report, we've recreated what the website may have looked like to the officer at the time of his research. We've censored any contact information. At the bottom, it stated that the organization was founded by veterans. It also stated that the organization is actively recruiting licensed agents and sworn officers. Reports by news outlets that came at a later date revealed even more details about the mysterious driver. At the time of publishing this video, he is still listed as an active member of the Ohio Bail Agents Association. This association allows certain entities to apprehend individuals to court only under the specific circumstance that they are out on bond. In other words, he's a bail bond agent, who according to WBNS 10 owns the nonprofit called the Ohio Federal Apprehension Program, and under no authority has any legal right to use flashing lights or a mock police cruiser to pull over random citizens. In fact, if we take a look at the badge the man used to allegedly represent himself with on his person and on his website, you'll find he may have opened himself up to even more legal trouble. This badge lists the word enforcement, which may not seem like a big deal at first. However, under Ohio law, bail bond agents are restricted from referring to themselves as bounty hunters or bail enforcement agents, the key word being enforcement. Under this law, if a bail bond agent is found guilty of doing this 3 times, it is considered a felony. On top of that, the officer discovered that anyone from the general public could purchase this badge from several online retailers. According to an interview conducted by NBC4 Columbus, officials confirmed that this situation was one of many conducted by this man. Westerville Police Department's Detective Lieutenant Justin Alloway had this to say about the man. I know one person that he did stop. He actually placed under arrest because they had a warrant for their arrest. However, it wasn't a felony warrant that he had a contract to be.
Now, keep that in mind right here. I know one person that he did stop. He actually placed under arrest because a warrant for their arrest. They had a warrant for their arrest. However, it wasn't a felony warrant that he had a contract to be able to actually arrest that person. So in that context, watch what these cops do to this guy.
Able to actually arrest that person. How they discovered this information may baffle you. For now, let's move back to where we left off. The next night, officers then get together to apprehend the suspect roughly 20 hours after the initial traffic stop was
They go to his house to apprehend them, and there's no indication that they have a warrant. Watch what they do.
conducted. They park their cruisers down the street and make their way to their targeted house on foot.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, you remember me from last night?
Yeah, I do. What's going on?
So we had a couple more developments about that traffic stop. Can you come out here and talk to me?
Yeah. Let me get socks and shoes on.
Actually, you're under arrest.
Just broke the plane of his door. He just violated his Fourth Amendment rights. Wait till you hear what these cops say as they're violating this guy's Fourth Amendment rights without a warrant. No warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause. What? Probable cause that a crime has been committed, but there has to be a warrant issued. Otherwise, you can't do what the cops just did. They just violated this guy's rights. But listen to what they say about somebody else violating somebody else's rights.
That's right now.
Why am I under arrest?
Turn around, put your hands behind your back. For unlawful detainment and impersonating a police officer.
I have done none of that.
You have the right to remain silent.
For what?
Anything you say can be used against you in court of law. Do you understand?
I do. Just I don't know what's happening right now. What is happening?
We'll explain it to you in just a minute, but we're gonna do what we need to do and make sure everybody's safe, okay?
We're going to do what we need to do. We're going to violate the Fourth Amendment we swore to protect, defend, and uphold, and we're going to arrest you without a warrant.
Okay.
The officers immediately read him his Miranda rights, although he voices some resistance
Yeah, exactly. What's the matter? You says, you're not a real member of our club. Exactly.
to the legitimacy of his arrest. He complies to each command the officers give.
Another ad. Let's click off this ad right here.
Under arrest, sir, for impersonating a police officer.
How did I impersonate a police officer? I never impersonated any police officer ever.
Sir, we were with
Should we arrest cops for impersonating civilians? I mean, think about it. Cops impersonate civilians so that they can apprehend who they believe is criminals, and it's okay. It's policy. But if you impersonate them, it's a felony. It's kind of like cops can lie to you. That's policy, man. Cops lie all the time. It's policy. You lie to a cop, well, that's a felony. You're going down. You're going downtown for that one. Interesting. Rules for me and not for thee.
so into all that later.
As the man is taken to the real patrol car, another officer stays behind to
The real patrol car.
explain the situation to who they assume is
Listen to this explanation.
the man's wife.
So I'm Officer Ross of Westerville. Last night there was a traffic stop made on South Cleveland Avenue. Your husband initiated that traffic stop with red and blue lights and stopped a car and detained an individual. He's not a licensed police officer in the state of Ohio, and that is unlawful detainment and impersonating a police officer. So,
Okay.
and based on the evidence that we have right now, he's not and never has been a police officer. He can't do that.
Okay.
All of these are misdemeanor charges.
He has a license for bail bonds and
Bail
insurance.
bonds.
Yes.
Right. Unfortunately, he made a traffic stop on somebody.
Okay, but I know he only did that for the good of, he felt like that was necessary.
I understand. However,
Okay.
the significance of this goes a little bit beyond just the criminal law.
Here we
And
go.
there is a constitutional violation.
There's a constitutional violation of the Fourth Amendment that happened. The cop is saying he's concerned about. Didn't you guys just violate my right to be secure in my house by breaking the threshold and coming in and arresting somebody you didn't have a warrant to arrest? So let me get this straight. You're in here telling me that you're concerned that somebody's constitutional rights were violated as you're in the process of violating our constitutional rights. It's the hypocrisy is off the charts. Thank you so much, Gloria.
Fourth Amendment that happened. Somebody's constitutional rights got violated and their liberty was taken from them. Do you have any questions for me?
I mean, this is not a
I am just going to play that again. That is a real jaw dropper. Let me play what the cop just said. The grave irony of this cannot for a second be lost on any of us. Listen to this.
Beyond just the criminal law, and there is a constitutional violation of the Fourth Amendment that happened. Somebody's constitutional rights got violated and their liberty was taken from them. Do you have any questions for me?
You know, kind of like I'm in the process of taking your liberty right now. I mean, I am in your house uninvited. Can you imagine, even if it was your next door neighbor that you knew, if you didn't invite him into your house, you'd be like, what the hell are you doing here, Bob? I don't have a neighbor named Bob, by the way. So Martha, I'm not talking about you. No, I'm just kidding. But can you imagine if it was your neighbor, somebody that you knew in your house, you would be like, this can't happen again. But this is somebody you don't know in your house to take one of your loved ones away, explaining how your loved one has possibly violated somebody else's constitutional rights while they're in the process of violating the person's constitutional rights that they're talking to.
I mean, this is not at this time. I mean, yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. So we were just watching the Chiefs and Bills game. Like,
Yeah. Try to be as respectful as possible.
no, and you have been. It just really kind of. Okay.
Do you know if he has the original Ohio plate, license plate for that? Because the plate that's on there is like a plate that someone made somewhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Well, that's fine. But just in case we need to come back in, you know, we
Yeah, no, I mean, you can.
Just in case we need to break into your house again, you know, next time we'll bring a battering ram and a SWAT team. Just in case, though, we just want to make sure that we can get all the information that we came to get.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll talk to him.
As you just heard, the current plates that were on the vehicle were plates that were likely bought from a third-party website. He has a legal license plate under the same tag number, but he swapped out the plates for the more official-looking color. Soon enough, the officers head back out to the real cruiser where the man is apprehended.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Can you explain this, please?
Go ahead and take a seat. We'll explain it. That definitely looks like a police car. It even has a computer and everything.
Look at this guy's car. Look at this car, man. He is decked out. It looks like he even has more equipment than a regular cop. And now, because this cop maintains his cool and stays with his original story, it's also another thing that kind of mentally short circuits these cops, and they start treating them with kid gloves. I mean, if you or I did this, and I think it's probably because he's credentialed possibly as a bondsman, but you're going to see some serious mental gymnastics here. And these cops are trying to work through it. They do not understand an interaction with somebody else who calls them authority that's not playing for their team.
Dude, He's a bed in there too.
Yeah, he's sleeping there.
Dude, he is. Dude, if I was an average citizen, I would think this guy was a good cop.
Right. We ran the number.
If I was an average citizen, I mean, my gosh, this is why I hate censorship, because I want people to keep on talking, just keep on talking from the abundance of the heart. What comes from the depths of who you are is what comes out of your mouth. Now, is it possible to sometimes misspeak? Of course, we've all done that. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person inside. But when they continually say that, if I was just a regular citizen, see, I don't know a cop who doesn't think that he's better than you, because they think they have more authority than you. They think that they're perfectly just in doing things where if you and I did the exact same thing, we'd be rightly thrown into jail and separated from society because we're a menace. But they think that they can do things and say things and act certain ways where if you and I did it, man, we will get the axe. So they don't even view themselves as regular citizens. They believe they are cut above, looking down on the rest of us, making sure all the little children stay in order.
Thing, like a burner phone or something.
But it's just like a third party, like, voicemail box, basically. You can get one. Yeah, those shirts in there, though, look pretty, it says to a fugitive tax force, fugitive agent. I don't know how you get those shirts, though.
Bail bond, and we can't have it. I don't know how he's got Marconi as his address.
Yeah.
I don't either. That's when you go to any DMV or you present a badge and grudge, they really have people really paying attention.
So you said what? He said you have more stuff than you do?
Yeah, like gear and stuff.
Oh, really?
That's weird.
It's in a medical bag.
He's got the same like dude bag I have, but he's got that little drink bottle thing on the side. I'm like, how much did they get for that? That's kind of nice.
I don't want to say he's more dedicated, but I mean, his work is.
He does.
And because this guy acts believable and is sticking with his story and is being low key about that, you'll see him talk to him in a second. They don't know where to go, even knowing what they know now. They don't know exactly where to go with this.
Once it's so bad, just go to the class. For like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, with all the stuff that he has.
Yeah, I guess that.
What the officer mentions here might be alluding to the man's troubling past. According to court records, the man once faced charges for petty theft, operating without a license, tag violations, driving while on a suspended license, and reckless driving. The reckless driving charge came to be after it was amended from an operating while intoxicated charge. Of those charges, he was found guilty. He also faced charges in the past for improperly transporting a firearm, had a different impaired driving charge, and had one charge of disorderly conduct, but those were dismissed.
We have an academy.
What's the woman not hiring? But someone else will.
All right, I'll do it if somebody gives a $10 super chat, Chris. I will say that if somebody gives a $10 super chat to Chili.
They read his Miranda rights again to be
And I'll say it right. I'll say it with heart. I'll say it with feeling. I'll say it like I mean it.
sure he understands them. Afterwards, they continue explaining the situation to the apprehended individual.
Those plates are fictitious. They're not the original Ohio plates that came on it.
Correct.
That being said, that vehicle is parked illegally without real license plates.
Okay, I've talked to the state. All of that is in process.
Listen to this. This guy really, he does a good job interacting with these cops, man. His story is so freaking believable. And I believe that he believes that he has the authority to do what he was doing.
I think that there's,
and that's the problem with cops. They truly believe that they've been bestowed with power from on high to be able to do what they do. That's why they act like they act. Greg B, member for 23 months. Thank you. Thank you very much, Greg.
a miscommunication here. My intention is never to impersonate law enforcement. I've never identified myself as such. I am licensed with the state. I am a fugitive recovery agent. Every interaction I've had with anybody, I've had all you guys involved. It was a safety issue on the plate just because of the nature of the job. Right. It's the same reason that my driver's license comes back to Marconi.
Right.
And it's just.
Does that mean I have to say it twice? Chuck P gave $10 super chat to Chili. Thank you. We don't stop. We don't stop. We the people want change. This insanity has to stop. Thank you, Chuck. Hey, Chuck P, put up that link or that website or that email address that you want people to look at, and I'll highlight that. Stomper says, all right, here we go. I promised. Oh, man. Dad to a daughter with a $10 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. I got to drum it up. Oh, man. Oh. All right. You ready? Listen here, you jackboot thug pig who believes that Terry v. Ohio trumps constitutionally protected rights. You jackboot thug pig. I could see somebody taking a clip of that and going, look, this guy's insane. He wants to harm people. Don't go to church on Sunday morning. If you do, hide your wife, hide your kids. You jackboot. I'm going to tell you what, you jackboot. I'm going to get you.
Safety issue. It's not to impersonate anybody. It's to keep my family safe.
Once this is
I guess there was 3 $10 super chats, and I've only said it twice, so I got to give you guys money's worth. Let's see. You got to say it with conviction. Jackboot thug pig. We can make a rap song out of that.
is said and done, that emergency equipment is going to have to come off of there.
Okay.
So,
but again, that's it's still on application with the AG's office.
To get to the meat and potatoes of things, an individual was detained.
Here we go.
And their Fourth Amendment rights were violated. And
he is talking to the guy he just directly violated and trampled his Fourth Amendment rights. The reason you're back in this cop car, buddy, is because somebody out there had their Fourth Amendment rights violated. So we decided to come to your home and violate your Fourth Amendment rights. What you think about them apples? Because we can do it.
And in the process of that, red and blue lights were activated on that roadway with that address and everything coming back to 120. That's impersonating a police officer.
Jeff felt it all the way in Wisconsin.
Wasn't the intention. It was public safety, and it was to wave down a Columbus police officer. I used the lights to signal for them to come.
How much donation for a jackboot thug pig rap song? Oh my God.
Because they were going to do harm to other people on the car. Okay. Which I do have the videos along with that.
You do have video.
Unbelievably, it appears the man went as authentic as possible, even suiting himself up with body cam footage. After getting a warrant and going through the footage, officers were able to see this man made numerous stops, and this is where the Westerville detective lieutenant learned the man arrested someone without the proper credentials to do so. As for his license plate address being listed at Columbus Police Headquarters, Detective Lieutenant Justin Alloway also had some thoughts on this as well. He told ABC6 News, "That's a privilege that's reserved for police officers to protect their home address. He had to file paperwork with the BMV showing that he is a peace officer, and that was obviously fraudulently done, so that could rise to a felony charge in the future."
See, it's got to be legal fraud. It's got to be legally authentic. It's got to be legal road piracy, because if it's not if you don't put the legal on the front of it, it ain't all right. Jehoiakim says, say it like you mean it. God, I thought I did. Wow, this hurts, man. You guys are hurting me because I hate saying it. I don't want to say it. I'll say it, though, because I said I would. Say it like you mean it. Oh, my gosh. I thought I did. Maybe I can say it like a wait, that won't even sound like New Yorker because it doesn't have the particular word. Saying it like a New Yorker. Hey, over there. Hey, you're from the great state of New York. You jackboot thug pig over there. Huh? You're going to be a jackboot thug. If you're going to be a jackboot thug pig, you're going to go to a cage like a jackboot thug pig. That's all I got to say about it.
I gave you my card.
You did.
Everything I thought was above board. If there's an education here, if I crossed, I don't think that this needs to be an arrestable situation. We can figure out a way that I can say, okay, did I misstep?
I absolutely believe that you meant well. But based on our conversation last night, you told me that you activated your overhead lights, stopped the car, gave him 11 commands over the PA, hold to the right. You initiated.
I asked him to get off the roadway while the Columbus officer was coming.
And the Columbus officer said you had him stop. The Columbus
He wouldn't move. He was just stopped dead in the road.
Well,
He was just sitting in the middle of a green light. And I saw the Columbus officer. I hit the lights and I waved him over and I said, hey, you got to get this guy right now. You got to get him. He goes, hey, who are you with? I said, I'm with the Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Program. That's exactly who. Right. We're a nonprofit, state of Ohio, right? He goes, okay, cool. Do you have your ID? I showed it to him. I showed it to you. Gave the card. If I didn't hit the lights, I was afraid somebody was going to get hurt. and I feel like I was very transparent. You were the same one that came out with the suicide call, right?
Well, I done did.
The man seems to imply he was involved with police during a different incident.
I'm not recalling that.
We need to look at the intent. Right.
When we were speaking, I asked you for your badge number. You gave that to me. I said, so you're federal.
I don't believe I didn't respond.
You didn't respond.
No, I think I was saying, no, I'm state. And then the other guy was talking to me from the other side. I'm absolutely not federal.
This is a callback to the moment we asked you to note earlier. The man claims he was distracted by another officer speaking to him from the other side. Let's rewatch that moment.
Oh, wow. Oh, you're federal. Okay. What is it? Oh, wow. Oh, you're federal. Okay. What is it? You didn't respond? You didn't correct me?
No. That's why I said, hey, do you want my card? Our organization is a nationwide organization, right? But we're licensed through the state of Ohio. Gotcha. Technically, are we federal?
Yeah,
the group is, but I would never say I'm a federal agent or a nationwide agent or anything like that.
There is a serious issue. Their Fourth Amendment was put in jeopardy.
It so disgusts me when a cop says this, because it's obvious that they absolutely do not care about anybody's Fourth Amendment except their own. Yeah, somebody's saying put the link on about DirectD. Let's see here. This is DirectD's fundraiser, and he's got $8,317 right now. Here is his fundraiser. He's looking for, it says raised of a goal of 100,000. Let's see. I'm Jim Freedom. Hey, you know what? Let me just stay on task on this, and then I think we're pretty much done with this one. Let's go to the conclusion of this. So this guy is believable, and here's what ends up happening to him. This is the last minute and a half of this video.
And you have my card. You can check questions.
They actually allow the guy to keep his car. They don't tow it. They let this guy's wife pull the car into the driveway because there was that license plate issue. So they're basically trading with, he's getting the preferential treatment.
According to court records, the man pled not guilty and was released the following day on his own recognizance, meaning he didn't have to pay a bail amount to avoid jail time. He faced 4 charges, 1 for impersonating an officer, 1 for unlawful restraint on a person's liberty, 1 for operating a vehicle bearing fictitious license plates, and 1 for prohibited use of flashing red and blue lights. Shortly after, police would get a warrant to search his vehicle and other properties. According to several news sources and police documentation, the police would find the interior of the squad vehicle had a computer that very closely resembled official.
Look at that. Look at the inside of that vehicle right there. That's he spent some money on that. He's got it all outfitted. Even the center console here. So he's got a GPS. He's got this big hard shell laptop.
Use a partition between the front and back seats of the vehicle, a shotgun mount, and of course a shotgun. What appears to be handcuffs, tactical gear donning the infamous badge along with several utilities, a taser, a handgun, and, as mentioned earlier, dash and body cam equipment the man allegedly used to record himself with during.
Look at that. That is an official looking vest. He's got this all embroidered, Fugitive Task Force Agent Warrant Division, which apparently he was a part of. But watch what happens to him.
Different traffic stops he conducted. As far as his verdict goes, it appears his court case was initially pushed back to a later date, but the case was then entirely dismissed by request of the prosecutor less than a month after his arrest. With that being said, for this case, this individual was not found guilty on any of the charges he faced, served no jail time, and got his court fees dismissed. The individual in this case is presumed innocent. We have posted the video to
Dismissed. No court fees, no jail time, dismissed. Definitely got the preferential treatment. So DirectD says, let me see what he says here. He says it's going to take a stupid amount of money to retain legal representation in Arizona, like 5 to 6 figures, kind of stupid. I've been quoted as low as 65,000, as high as 140,000, and they all want it all up front. So after 4 years of doing this, I'm finally asking for your help. So he has this right here. Hello, I'm Jim Freedom, and I'm reaching out On behalf of Christopher Ruff, you may know him as Direct D on YouTube. He's a friend who has recently helped me a great deal with advice and guidance advancing my career. He helps many people, and I never see him asking anyone for help. Today, I'm asking you to help Christopher. He's facing unjust criminal charges that shouldn't even exist, and he urgently needs funds to afford legal representation. People that know Chris personally, I've watched him relentlessly question government overreach and expose corruption whenever he sees it, wherever he sees it. Because of this, the government is blatantly trying to silence him with unconstitutional charges and deceptive court loopholes. Christopher has been quoted exorbitant fees ranging from $70,000 to $100,000 to secure a lawyer willing to challenge the court on 4 cases that blatantly violate his constitutional rights. And by the way, let me insert this. Oh, wow. I didn't know that was that small. Let me see if I can. Let me say this. I hate the fact that it costs so much for one person to release themselves from the bonds of tyranny when they literally didn't commit a crime, didn't leave a victim. And in a lot of cases, they didn't even break the rules of the tyrannical society, because we know that there's 18 USC 242 deprivation of rights under color of what? Under color of law. In a lot of these cases, laws aren't actually broken because a law that is in contrast or violates the Constitution is, according to Marbury versus Madison, null and void. Now, you know, the side issue with Marbury versus Madison is it was inherently illegitimate because the Supreme Court gave themselves the power of judicial review. But there are some aspects of that Supreme Court case that just testify the truth. And that is any law that's repugnant to the Constitution, that would seek to threaten and jeopardize one shred, one nanoparticle of individual rights, is null and void. So when you're giving to Christopher on his behalf, Christopher Ruff from Direct D, you're actually giving to yourself on your behalf, because one day you might need help, and then we're going to be rallying around you to help you. And until we find a way out of this basically death loop, this death spiral of having to pay these exorbitant fees for these lawyer costs and all these court costs and everything, until we can get ourselves out of that and find a better way, this is kind of what we're left to do. It says the lawyers that have looked into the cases listed below believe the state will force each to go through the entire legal process, including trials. They expect Chris, because of his unique government accountability position, to have to jump through every legal hoop available to the government, which increases the cost needed for a lawyer to navigate that system on his behalf. $100,000 up front is an unachievable amount for most people. However, if we find 100,000 freedom-loving people willing to donate $1, this impossible task becomes possible for a man that absolutely needs it. And, you know, that goes for Direct D. It goes for Christopher Ruff. It goes for James Freeman. It goes for Flex Your Freedoms. It goes for Hendry and everybody who needs help. If we all think about it, there's hundreds of, what does Christopher Ruff have? Like 350, 400,000 subscribers? I don't even know. I haven't looked at his numbers in a while. What does he have? I don't know. I don't see it on my page here. 278. Okay, let's say 300,000 subscribers. He's got 300,000 subscribers, and I know a lot of these subscribers overlap, but Long Island Audit is going on 700,000 subscribers. James Freeman's got like 550,000 subscribers. Chili's got 500,000 subscribers. What if we each, I mean, there's got to be at least 2 or 3 million of us, I would say. Lackluster's got 1.2 million by now. Audit the Audit has 2 point something million. Surely there's like 3 million of us. If each of us gave $1, we would have a $3 million pot from which people could draw from. Of course, you know, you'd have to have, basically trustees of this. It would be a trust. It would be a trust, and there would be beneficiaries to the trust. And there would have to be agreements and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. I understand. This is why I don't like being involved in the process of collecting money for people. I don't want to be the middleman, because if I stay out of being the middleman, which sometimes it's hard to do, you know, you can keep yourself out of a lot of frickin' accusations that are going to come your way. And then it's like, how do I prove my innocence on this? All I can do is give you all the receipts. And then that becomes an arduous task because it's like, oh man, I got to keep up with all this stuff now. What the heck's going on? So there's so many complexities involved with tyranny blanketing the landscape that it's ridiculous. But this is kind of the situation we put ourselves in, or that we've been thrust into, that we've been born into. Ever since the moment you breathed your first, your dad and mom were duped into signing your name on a corporate paper, creating something called a corporate fiction. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but we can talk about it. We can talk about it. I'm just learning. I'm learning myself. These charges are, if you want me to talk about this in the future, put a 1 in the room. Right now, it's kind of beyond the scope of this video. These charges are a grave injustice, and I totally agree. And Christopher deserves a fair chance to defend himself. Your contributions will go directly toward covering Chris's attorney fees, nothing else, enabling him to fight these unjust charges and finally clear his name. The sooner we get him a good lawyer, the sooner you will see fresh Arizona content from DirectD. Every donation, no matter the size, brings us one step closer to achieving justice for Chris and letting the government know that our community support network and freedom movement is strong. And then it's got these 3 cases that he's a part of with all the case numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop, I will be donating to DirectD because I believe in this cause. And it's not even so much, nobody's asking anybody to believe anything. Look at the facts of the case and understand what's actually going on and go, hey, I'm not believing this in this case. I know the facts of the case. So I am advancing on knowing, on truth, on the bedrock of logic and freedom. No belief necessary. Nobody has to convince me of anything. I've already convinced myself by the facts. So I'm going to drop this link in the chat because I know this is what Chili would want too. Chili would want the link for DirectD to be publicized on his channel because he wants Christopher Ruff to be free. He wants Flex Your Freedoms to be free. He wants Hendry. He wants Press for Ranker to be free. That's why he does all these donation drives. Let me refresh this page. Okay, so it's at 8317. Maybe we can get this up. Yeah, it's commercial contracting. Yeah, and there's a way to break the chain, I think. If you guys want me to go over that in future videos. Oh, you guys put some ones in the room. I appreciate it. What was the other thing we were going to go over? We were going to, oh yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention the Mullen Commission. You know, Chili mentions this, and we talk about this a lot, but to actually see the words from a commission that investigated the NYPD, 2 commissions, the Knapp Commission in the 1970s and the Mullen Commission in the 1990s, and to read their conclusion is quite sobering. It's actually a verbal smelling salt of reality on how bad, just how bad the cops are. And no matter how conspiracy minded you might be, what the government is doing is far worse than you can possibly comprehend. Why? Because you're a good person and you would never do the things that they do. You would never do the things that the higher ups and the underlings in the New York Police Department do. Why? Why wouldn't you do that? Because you're not a psychopath. You're not a psychopathic individual. You are somebody who cares about people. You just want peace. You want to provide for your family. You want to do a good service for your community and members of the human race while you can in this limited time that we have on earth. And isn't it tragic that there are people on this earth who call themselves authorities who want to take that away from you? Before I read the conclusion of the Mullen Commission, you guys have heard of you've heard of this guy, right? Kevin Strickland. Kevin Strickland was in jail for 40. Oh, I can't even get this because you got to have a, let's see. Let's do something that, here, let's just do Wikipedia. They'll probably have a decent write-up. This guy was in jail for 43 years for a crime that even the prosecuting attorneys and the attending law enforcement agents knew he didn't commit. And here's some insult to injury for you. This was supposed to be a triple homicide that happened back in the 1970s, in the late 70s. He got pinned with the triple homicide, was in jail. He was incarcerated in a prison in Missouri for 43 years for a crime that he didn't commit. And when they caught, shortly after the 1970s, when they caught up to the 2 guys that actually committed the triple homicide, they each served 10 years in jail each and got out decades and decades before Kevin Strickland, who everybody knew didn't do it. Look at this. 2 black men who pled guilty to the murders have said that Strickland was not involved. The 2 guys that actually did the murder said he wasn't even involved at all. He needs to be freed. And he still stayed in jail for decades after they said he didn't do it. After they found the guys who really did do it. That's how disgusting our injustice system is that tries to pass itself off as a justice system. Crime and trials. This crime was supposed to have committed in 1978. He stays in jail. Can you just think about it? 43 years of missing birthdays, missing weddings, missing your parents' deaths. The grief and the hardship and the turmoil that they put one man through. And Kevin Strickland is just one guy. This is just one guy, guys. Look at this. Do they have a picture? Is there even a picture of this guy? I want to put a picture with this guy. Where is it? Let's see if I can click on this. Oh, it froze up. Why did it freeze up? I do not know. This page totally froze up on me. Let me see. Let's open another one. Kevin Strickland. I don't know why that froze up. Let's go to somewhere where this is 5 minutes. Let's get through this. I just want to show you this guy. It looks like he's a good guy too.
The big story at 6, Kevin Strickland is a free man.
I can't begin to say what all I'm thinking.
He was wrongly imprisoned for 43 years and left prison today.
God, guys, 43 days is 43 minutes, 43 months, 43 years, 43 years. This guy's life was stolen from him by the state. And I don't care how many millions of dollars you get. I don't care if you give him $1 trillion. I don't care if for the next 20 years of his existence, he gets to live on a yacht, Bill Gates yacht or Jeff Bezos yacht or whatever. You can never, ever replace the time that he missed with his family, with his loved ones, with his parents. It's so egregious. I can't even, there's no way for me to articulate and put into words how deep and grave the injustice is here.
No, I didn't think this day was going to come.
Wow, hard to comprehend. 43 years.
He spent most of his life in prison for a crime he didn't commit.
God.
Now a year
And
later.
he's just, guys, he's just one guy. They're just currently getting around to releasing so many people that everybody knew was innocent. And it's not like, well, this is kind of on the fence. We kind of thought he did it and he was in the area at the time. It's like, it's nothing like that. Not even close.
Later, Kevin Strickland is experiencing moments he missed while locked up. He attended a family reunion, took a plane to Florida for the first time.
All the simple things. Having a bedroom, having a soft pillow and a blanket, having your own shower with your own hot water, being able to go out and open a door and look up at the sky anytime you want to, or go out of your house at night and look up at the stars, or pitch a tent in the redwoods, or go to the ocean, or do some fishing, or just go to the grocery store and interact with, the people that you see there. All of that stuff that we take for granted. And there's no way that we can truly appreciate the freedom we have until one day when it's taken from us. And that's why we do what we do on this channel and my channel and all the other channels. We don't want this kind of injustice happening to anybody, because when injustice happens to a Kevin Strickland anywhere, it's going to happen to a Brian Young anywhere, or a Greg B, or a Miss Constitutional Rights, or an April Rain, or a Carter, or a Citizens Broadcasting Cooperative. If we don't do stuff for others, probably ain't going to be anybody around to do stuff for us in our hour of need. And our hour of need could be happening tonight while we sleep, with an FBI raid and a warrantless search at the wrong house.
time and has been honored in multiple ways. KSHB 41 I-Team reporter Sarah Plake talked to Strickland about life outside of lockup and the one part of his journey he can't get past.
Kevin Strickland left behind a world of gray concrete and iron 1 year ago, exonerated after spending 43 years, most of his life, in prison for a crime he didn't commit.
Just damn. My God. Oh my gosh. It would be all you could do to put the reins and the chains on the bitterness that you would feel for having been ripped off of your most valuable commodity, time.
The year doesn't seem like a year, but I know it's very real.
He's free to come and go as he pleases now, but there's one piece of his old life he can't shake.
I wrestled with concrete and iron in the penitentiary for many years, so I'm not comfortable unless I'm moving iron around.
For Kevin, easing into life outside the barbed wire fences starts at the gym.
All right, how you doing? I spend a lot of time here, and this is my comfort zone. Going up against that iron, you can't never beat it. So it's like a challenge thing, and it's just the atmosphere, the weightlifting, and going up against something that I know I can't win.
You're gonna be sore, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
God, he seems like such a good guy too, man. It's like somebody you want for your neighbor. And it's like, what do you mean you were in jail for almost half a century? Almost a half a century. Oh my God.
Interesting, because when you were in prison, I'm sure you felt that way, that you were going up against not only the iron, but just the system.
Yeah.
But you won.
In the end, I mean, some people call it a victory. I do too. I'm glad to be out. I'm tickled to death to be out.
Kevin entered the prison system at 18 and came out a 62-year-old man.
God, just the vacuum of from 18 to 62, gone.
This is the day in late November 2021 when he learned his nightmare was over, that he would leave those doors a free man. And this is when we first saw him, with the prison in Cameron, Missouri, in the distance.
I didn't think this day was going to come.
Yep, chest on it, good.
He looks a lot different now.
34 pounds.
He shed the weight and the wheelchair.
From a wheelchair to a walker to a cane, and I just left the cane behind.
Thanks to a hip replacement and back surgery. Surgeries he's sure he would have never gotten in prison.
Work up a pretty good sweat doing this.
It's not only transforming his physical health, but soothes his mind too.
Give me a chance to just think about my life and I work out the frustrations and I exercise the joys, messing with that iron, opposed to another individual. And it's very, very therapeutic.
But there's more joy than frustration, Kevin says. He's with his kids and grandkids now.
They keep me on my toes.
He's just catching up on every.
Wait a minute, kids and grandkids? Did he have kids before he went into jail at 18? That means his kids would be how old? 43 years older than when he went in? That would just be so weird. It would be like coming out of prison would be like opening a time capsule on your entire life and walking into a completely different world. Walking into the cage in 1978 and walking out of the cage in the 2020s. Writ of habeas corpus. What's up, Stanford Truth? How you doing, man? Guys, I apologize. If you sent me emails, it's very, very difficult. I'm a one-man show and it's very difficult. Yeah, it makes me want to cry too, Kelly. I'm holding it back right now. But yeah, I miss a lot of emails. What specifically about the writ of habeas corpus are you wanting to take a look at? Hey, Stand for Truth, why don't you just stick around? Because I'm going to be putting the invite link in and you can just talk about it live. You want to do that? I'm going to open up the live portion of this live stream, the live chat, the live call-in a couple minutes. Okay, guys? Matter of fact, after this, I'll do it. And after we read the rest of the Mullen conclusion. So it'll take... So in 6 minutes, we'll open it up.
Things we take for granted, like driving.
A lot of driving. I mean, I enjoy driving. And that's what I do. I just go random places and just hang out and just soak up life.
His life was like clockwork for 4 decades. So Kevin is still realizing he can get out and explore.
This is the first right here. Me just being on this part of the park right here, going across this area. I've never been this poor.
When he was freed from prison, the state didn't give him a penny because he wasn't exonerated through DNA evidence. A GoFundMe that raised nearly $2 million helped Kevin get on his feet. His legal team is also helping him navigate what comes next.
What has been the number one thing that you've learned about yourself over the last year you've been out?
I have no patience. I have no patience. I have no patience. Yeah, I have no. I can't wait. Can't wait. I need to go. I need to go.
He's also learned a lot of people are fascinated by his story, but he doesn't quite understand why.
I'm not impressed by it. I mean, what I'm doing, because I expect a lot of myself. I just attribute it to,
I just feel like the reason people are responding to this guy like that is because normal people have empathy and they try to put themselves in another person's shoes, and they try to picture themselves sitting on the other side of that concrete and rebar wall for 43 freaking years.
Just desire to do better.
The memory of those 43 years will never go away, but they're in his rearview mirror now, with a new journey ahead.
I have an opportunity now to be out here and connect and bond with my family, and that's a big deal for me. That's
Guys, cops were a part of ruining his life. Prosecutors and investigators and detectives and judges were a part of the injustice system, swooped in, gathered together, aligned themselves against this man, and put him in a hole for 43 years. That's what we're fighting against. And they will do the same thing to you. Look what Standing Tall says. My brother did 30 years. He got out and died 10 months later. The world was completely different. Did he do 30 years as an innocent man, or did he do 30 years as a guilty man? Standing Tall.
Real big deal for me. Things are coming along okay.
Ah, so good to hear from him and see that he's doing so well. But I have to ask, Sarah, what does he say is next for him?
A whole lot of stuff. He wants to go to Brazil, the Bahamas, Australia, all those places that he used to see on the prison TVs, and now they're places he can.
It makes me want to get up out of this chair and just run outside and just keep running. Just the claustrophobic feeling of this guy pinned up for 43 years, can't go anywhere. Standing Tall says he was guilty. So I've got it open. We're going to go. Let's finish the Mullen Commission. Remember, Mullen Commission concluded after investigating the corruption, and if there was corruption in the New York City Police Department, the biggest police force on the planet, by the way, not just in America, but on the planet. Today's corruption is not the corruption of the Knapp Commission days. Corruption then was largely a corruption of accommodation of criminals and police officers giving and taking bribes, buying and selling protection. Corruption was, in its essence, consensual. Today's corruption in the New York City Police Department, says the Mullen Commission, is characterized by brutality. Brutality, you don't say. Check. Theft, check. Abuse of authority, check. And active police criminality, check. So if you guys want to, I'm gonna open the phone lines right now. Here's how I'm gonna do this, guys. The live call link is in the chat right now. If you want to come in and talk, please do so. But it's got to be a net value for everybody. Don't just. Okay. I'm not a censorship. Let's give everybody like 3 or 4 minutes and give everybody a chance. I'm only going to bring one person into the room at a time. But I want whatever you have to say to be a net benefit to people, and not just, this isn't just, I don't like wasting people's time. So I'm not going to waste an audience of, 300, 400, 500 people. I'm not going to waste your time. So I'm bringing in to the stage. We've got, who do we have? Who is this? Wait, where is it? I just brought somebody in. Here, let me remove and enter. Oh wait, you should be in. What's up, Writing?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. I don't see you. Is there just a is just a blank screen or what?
Yeah, I have my camera blocked.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's just the way I do my cameras on my phones and stuff. But anyway, hey, I'm the one that emailed you, and I've just responded. I sent you a copy of the letter I sent to Chile about the habeas corpus.
Okay.
And so, because you had mentioned about coming on the show, and then I saw that you were live on his channel, so I decided to hop on. basically the letter I sent Chili, there's nobody that can do it because I was going to do a habeas corpus for him, but the state of Arizona requires the individual to do a habeas. And essentially, the habeas corpus.
Can we
I'm sorry?
pause? Can we pause right there? And just for people who may not know, what is a writ of habeas corpus, and what, how could he be using that?
Okay, a writ of habeas corpus is for an unlawful detainment or detention. And that is taken to the federal level for a violation of rights, specifically due to the inferior trial court not having any jurisdiction. And so I laid out to Chili that, I pulled down the form, and you've got a copy of it. I sent you a copy of the letter I sent him.
And you sent it to me under what am I looking for? Because I got a lot of emails here.
It's Jose M. de Castro - habeas corpus. The latest one, I sent you the PDF doc of the letter that I just mailed off to him today. So he should get it in about 3 days.
Okay.
To the detention center.
Okay,
Right.
I just pulled it up. Go ahead.
Okay, now you can pull that letter up, and it's a 6-page letter, but I went over the habeas corpus, and what he needs to challenge is the jurisdiction of the court. Jurisdiction is not automatic, it's presumed. And if you don't object to it, then you're consenting to it. The problem that Chili got into when he hired an attorney, you got to keep in mind that an attorney is an officer of the court or a ward of the court. When you hire an attorney, you have just declared yourself, and this is a legal term, an idiot before the court. Okay? An idiot does not mean that you're a moron. It just means that you're ignorant of the law. So now you have just put yourself in the jurisdiction of the court. An attorney can never challenge jurisdiction. Okay, now there are elements to jurisdiction.
Well, what's Chili's answer there? Does he need to get cut loose his attorneys and go pro se, or what?
Yes, he needs to cut that attorney loose, because like I said, when I watched the appeal, and it was a joke. And because basically, if you don't have a crime or you don't have a victim, you don't have a crime. If you don't have a crime, the court cannot acquire jurisdiction. You got to understand that courts can hear certain cases, but a court still must acquire jurisdiction. And the one that gives the court jurisdiction is the plaintiff. You've got to look at it this way. It's a master-servant relationship. In order for there to be a case before the court for the judge to adjudicate, then you have to have another one of the people, a man or woman, otherwise known as a master, one of we the people, invoke the power of the state to come against another individual.
So what is the likelihood that the court is going to take this seriously and go, oh, I better back off now?
They will probably schedule it 90 days or about 90 days for a hearing. I don't know what the exact, I'm in Georgia, so I'm not quite sure what the Arizona says, but it typically goes to federal court that he would file in. He would serve the sheriff or whoever the director is, and he would serve, everybody involved, and then they would set it for hearing. Now, what he has to argue, as I told him, he needs to state one-line statements. Okay, don't go off in the weeds. The problem is they get you off on and this is what the attorney did, and the same thing the prosecutor did and the judge does, is they get you hooked into what's called the merits of the case. Okay, we don't care about the merits. Okay, and I told him in the letter, if you want to know the difference of what a merit is, look up the word demur. Okay, DEMUR, and that'll get you scratching your head. But anyway, what he needs to stick to is, number one, the inferior court, which is an administrative court. That judge was not a judicial officer. She is an administrative judge, or otherwise known as an administrative law clerk. Okay, now
let me ask you something real quick. What's your first name?
My first name's John.
John, let me ask you a question. Have you gone through this personally? Have you seen this process work?
More times than I care to shake a stick at.
And do you have a website or a channel that we can go to?
No, I basically help individuals, one-on-one. I teach others. I live in Georgia, but I go between Georgia and South Carolina. I live right on the line.
And how many people would you say that you helped through this process successfully?
I've won probably, I think I'm going on my 8th case.
And have you had any that you lost?
Yeah, the first one that I lost, I was in the same position as Chili. They busted my window in. I put it this way. I got started with the likes of Eddie Craig, Mark Stevens, of which I was on one of his shows way back a few years back. And so now I have basically came to the realization that you have to stand on the document. So what I use, first off, when I get a traffic ticket, for example, okay, now I tried the whole roll your window down 2 inches, all that nonsense.
Right.
Okay. And the first time it worked with a sheriff's deputy, or, a bunch of sheriff's deputies by the end of it, but they ended up letting me go. But the next time, what happened with the Georgia State Patrol, he busted my window out and took me straight to jail.
What is that? On that first one, what were you pulled over for?
Speeding.
Okay, go ahead.
I was following Eddie Craig stuff, and there was a deputy that was coming on. So I thought, well, it was 70 miles an hour on I-20. I was coming back from Atlanta. And I said, well, let's try his script to see if it works. And so I kicked it up to 85 in a 70. The deputy got behind me, pulled me over, and I stuck strictly to the script. 20 minutes later, and 10 police cars surrounded me. I get a little piece of paper says, you've been observed doing, exceeding the speed limit. This car is owned by so-and-so. Have a nice day. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Now, keep in mind that I'm shaking like a leaf inside the car because I've got, I don't know if these guys are going to shoot me or not. Well, the second time I tried it, I filed all the paperwork, didn't know what I was doing, and ended up going to jail. Okay, paid the bail, $1,500 in fines, so on and so forth. So I started really digging in and studying. And what it dawned on me that you can't let it get past arraignment, or in some jurisdictions it's called the first hearing. You got to understand that it's an administrative court, not a judicial court. If you were in a judicial court, you're talking about a real judge facing real jail time, and you're talking about a felony. Okay, that's the difference. Another way to identify whether you're in a administrative court or a judicial court, or what they call an Article 6 court, a constitutional court, is the charging instrument. At the top of the charging instrument, like say on a traffic citation, it says the state of versus so and so. On an indictment, it says the people of the state of such and such versus you. Okay, that's a big red flag right off the bat. Secondly, if you go into court, ask the judge if they're a judicial officer or administrative. And I guarantee if you want to see the faces turning red and the veins popping, you're going to see it with that very question. Now, what I do is, as soon as I get the ticket, I file a request for discovery and a demand for a list of witnesses. I'm not requesting anything. I'm demanding. Now, you're not going to get a list of witnesses because the cop can't be a witness. That would be perjury. Because the cop did not witness a crime, he can't be put on a list of witnesses. Okay, so
now when you say, just for some clarification and term defining here, when you say the cop didn't witness a crime, how do you define crime?
It's not how I define crime, it's how the law defines crime.
Okay, how do they define it?
Okay, first you have 3 elements to a crime. Okay, you have what's called, let me see here. You have the mental state of mind, which is, let me see. I had it written down, ready to go. Anyways, it's in the letter that I sent Chili. But anyway, you have the mental state of mind. You have the action, the criminal action, or in what they term actus reus, and then you have the causation, the harm or violation of a legal right to the victim. Okay, and that's who brings the charges. The cop never doesn't witness a crime. Who's the victim that he witnessed? Okay, now you got to understand that there's two types of crimes that they label. One is called a mala inse crime and a mala prohibitum crime. Okay, mala prohibitum crimes are your statutes and codes. You got to also understand that the statutes and codes are for the management of government. They have nothing to do with the people. Okay, you can code plead all day long. It's not going to matter. It's irrelevant to us unless you are a public servant or hold office or do one of those things. Okay, so when you understand that, the cop can't be a witness. What crime did he commit unless he sustained injury or harm? But when you have what's called a victimless crime, okay, you have to have somebody with standing to sue. Well, who's got standing to sue? The state? Okay, well, under the law of agency, who is the state representing? Okay, that's when if you look at a judicial court, the prosecutor is representing the victim. That's the state does that because, put it this way, if a little old lady gets robbed, okay, does she have any power to do anything about it? No, but as a member of this society, she is the one that invokes the power of the state and is the one that gives the court jurisdiction to handle the case for her. That's where the prosecution picks up. Okay, but when you have a administrative court, which was ultimately brought about under the Administrative Law Act, okay, now you don't have a crime. Go back to the Constitution. Okay, the Constitution authorizes two types of cases in this country. You have either a civil or a criminal. In both instances, a man or a woman must have suffered a loss or a harm or the violation of a legal right. If that hasn't happened, there is no case. Look, think of it this way. If it's the state versus you, how are you going to put the state on the stand? You can't put a fiction on the stand, just in the same token that a state cannot suffer a loss or harm.
But wouldn't they say that the state representative in Chili's case is Officer Bork?
Okay, and representative in what capacity? He's a witness, right?
Yes.
Okay, what did he witness?
Well, he would say that he witnessed obstruction and resisting.
Okay, and what are the elements to obstruction and resisting?
Go ahead, you have the floor.
Okay, Chili, if you watch his video, there has to be some kind of physical obstruction that keep the job from doing his lawful duty.
And you're talking, you're referring to revised statute or something else? 197, 190, or what?
I'm not be honest with you, I'm not familiar with the Arizona statutes. I really haven't dug that deep into them.
Okay.
I just kind of glossed over them.
Fair enough.
Okay, but the under the across the board in every state, the laws are pretty similar. Okay, some express things different ways or whatever. You can look for your own specific language in each state. Okay, but let's get back to what Chili did. Okay, now Chili intervened to assist another citizen. Okay, another one of the masters, put it that way. Okay, now he recognized that the same thing was going on with this person. So what was the articulable probable cause that the officer had pulled that individual over for?
Well, he would say it's expired registration.
Okay, and where's the loss or harm? Where's the crime?
Well, I just playing devil's advocate, I would say that the state functionary would say there doesn't need to be a crime. You disobeyed our traffic laws, and this is the rules we have to follow for that.
Okay, I'll tell you what I told prosecutor one time. Okay, that gave me that same argument. Okay, he said, if you don't like it, you can take it up with your state legislature. I looked at him and says, yeah, I talked to him about it. I gave him the day off and told my servant I got this. Now, care to proceed? You got to understand that if you go back to the original founding documents, okay, you go to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal. Okay, you can read that paragraph. If you want to continue reading it, have a blast. It's great for insomnia. But all men are created equal with an inalienable rights endowed by their creator. Full stop. That's all you need to know. Okay, that means, we have no titles of nobility in this country. All men are created equal. Okay, well, as we the people, we entered into contract. We developed a contract called the Constitution of the United States. It's a binding document. And within that binding document, you've got two types of cases that the government can adjudicate for us. Okay, that's your civil matters and your criminal matters. That's it. Okay, so who's the victim? It's a civil matter, which it's a breach of a contract. It's a criminal matter, which there was all three elements, or what they call three legs of the stool, were present to charge with a crime, or you can get off into negligence and torts and and all that stuff, which also falls under civil. So when the cop says, "Oh, well, you didn't have registration," and as a side note, I used to run around with a homemade tag on my car. Now, also keep in mind, the people I work with thought that was a little bizarre because I'm a senior adjuster and I'm also a legal investigator. And my specialty is traffic. Okay, traffic and taxes is my two biggest things. But I always tell everybody, once you cut your teeth on traffic and learn how it works, okay, because the court must acquire jurisdiction. In order for the court to acquire subject matter jurisdiction, there must be somebody with standing to sue. Well, the state doesn't have standing to sue unless, they have public property that has been damaged. Then they would have standing. But absent that, there is no standing. Same thing, if there is no victim, you have no standing.
All right, let me ask you this question, because Brick Jonesy just said Chili's already passed arraignment and sentencing. What can be done to reverse the decision?
Okay, that's where the habeas corpus comes in, because habeas corpus is strictly for the challenge to jurisdiction. See, if I go into court and I know there's no list of witnesses, the cop can't be a witness, so on and so forth, I announce myself by special appearance. Special appearance, as opposed to general appearance, is a direct challenge to the jurisdiction of the court. Now, of course, they're going to ignore that. Okay, but this is where you got to stand on your paperwork, because they're not going to, they're going to flat ignore it. And this is where I submit an affidavit of status, judicial notice of the court's lack of subject matter and in personam jurisdiction as a matter of fact and law. Okay, I don't submit motions. I don't ask permission of a court of no jurisdiction. Okay. Also, jurisdiction can be challenged at any time. All you got to do is go to AmJur 20 and it fully explains it, which I listed that in Chili's letter, of which you also have a copy. Okay, so even though he made the mistake and now he's past arraignment and he's sitting in jail, his only remedy at this point, if he wants to get out of jail in a reasonable amount of time, is to submit the writ of habeas corpus and list the elements of subject matter jurisdiction, of which I gave him, and that the court had no personal jurisdiction over him, and that the judge failed to uphold his right to due process.
All right, let me ask you a question, because this comes from usmarshals.gov, and you tell me if their definition of the writ of habeas corpus is your understanding of it. A writ of habeas corpus orders the custodian of an individual in custody to produce the individual before the court to make an inquiry concerning his or her detention, to appear for prosecution, or to appear to testify. Is that correct?
This is after the fact. Okay, yeah, this is somebody in custody. So yes, that would be correct.
But is a writ of habeas corpus before or after the fact the same thing? Are we talking about the same thing?
Yes, a writ of habeas corpus can be submitted anytime somebody is in detention.
Okay.
Because it's a challenge to the jurisdiction of the court.
Can you give us an example of one of your wins? What was the situation? How dire was it? And how it came to be that you got out of it?
Yeah, I've filed.
Because I want you to know, I'm not blowing you off. I do want to get to other callers, but I am absolutely, my interest is piqued in this because I feel like the information that you're conveying to us is information we all need to hear so that we can secure even more liberty. So what I want to do is, did you leave me your phone number on your email?
Yes, I did.
Okay, maybe I can call you tonight, because what I would like to do is is there something that we can put together that's kind of like cookie cutter that applies to like
yes, I have already made the templates because
Okay.
like I said, I help others.
Okay.
The problem is people don't understand what's in you have to understand the paperwork. If you can't wrap your mind around it, they're going to jack you up.
Is the paperwork understandable?
Yes, it's
On
very clear. And
on a complexity scale from 1 to 10, how complex is it?
it's about a 3.
Okay. So it's something that we can lead people into and train and try to get some education out there so people can be empowered. We can do this.
Yeah, I mean, because it really is simple. And and you can talk to Big Sib, you can talk to Alphonse, they're all on YouTube. Mark Stevens, you can talk to all those guys. Okay, they'll all tell you the same thing. It's if once you understand jurisdiction and you stand on it, okay, every time the judge, they have done nothing but throw me out of court, and then they do what's called a dead docket because people ask me for proof. Well, I don't have proof because 2 weeks after they throw me out of court, I pull the case back up and it's nowhere to be found. Well, of course not. They don't want people perusing through that. That's the only thing I can figure is they've dead docketed it, which means it goes back to the prosecutor, sits on his desk, and then when the time lapses, they throw it in the trash. They don't want that getting out. So, and like I said, and I have used it in both, in Georgia, but I've also helped friends use it in South Carolina as well. And this is the same thing across the board because the same thing is it's the same. Now, what they call the court is different in each jurisdiction, but they're all administrative courts. Because if you were in a felony court, you'd know it. You'd be having an indictment. Everything else is administrative. They don't have authority.
And what action on your part would put you into a felony court, or is that something they could just arbitrarily do?
Well, I mean, criminals are going to be criminals. Let's face it. I mean,
Okay,
is there anything such thing as a silver bullet? I mean, no. I mean, if they're going to be criminal, they're going to do it anyway.
Right.
But do you have the fortitude to stand there while your knees are knocking, while you're wanting to throw up, and your head's swimming? Are you going to stand there and stand on what the truth is and what the law states? Every court has to apply the common law. That's common knowledge. Well, what is the common law? That's the right to due process. What's the right to due process? A jury trial, right to confront your accuser. It's all laid out in the Constitution. You're holding them to the supreme law of the land. And see, once you box that judge in, because I hate to say it, you should be boxing the prosecutor in. But the judge always picks up for the prosecutor. The prosecutor sits there, basically twiddling their thumbs and don't know what to say. So the judge picks up because they want the money. Okay. So, and this is why I say cut your teeth on traffic, because once you get it, even if you screw up a traffic case, worst case scenario, you pay the fine, go down the road and start all over again.
Okay, John, let's do this real quick because I want to get to Robert. I don't want to leave Robert hanging. But let me do this. First of all, I need you to email me again with just your phone number because I'm looking through your emails and I don't see it.
It's the one with Chili's name and then dash habeas corpus in bold letters.
In the subject line?
Yeah, I sent you. Yeah, in the subject line, it says Jose M. De Castro dash habeas corpus. You've got 3 emails.
Understand for truth?
Understand for truth?
Yeah. Did you send it to me from an email called Stand for Truth?
No, it should be from JHAB 2012 at Gmail.
Oh, I just found it. Okay, cool. Let me just make sure. Okay, yeah. Okay, John. Okay, well, let me ask you one question before you go, okay? Because I'm going to get to Robert. But okay, so what given the exact situation that happened to Chili, and if he had this knowledge in his head that you're trying to convey to us right now, what should he have done right after that traffic stop?
He would have never let it got past. He would have just put it this way. He would have just started making the record. Okay, the cop card, that's fine. Okay, you want to see my license? I invoked the fourth. Okay, you want to violate my fourth? Here's my license, insurance. Never argue on the side of the road with a 5-year-old with a gun.
Okay.
Get the ticket, go to court, file your motion for discovery and demand for list of witnesses. And then when you don't get it, then you file the affidavit of status, so on and so forth, and then show up to court. Okay, and stand on it.
Okay. In the spirit of truth fears no scrutiny, would you have acted differently than Chili did during his hearing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'd have went, and I tell you, I got half a mind to go out there and out there just to go head to head with her.
And what I mean act differently is, would you have called the cops pigs, or how would you have acted? Would you have?
No, you got to understand that they're not the smartest bunch, and that's intentionally. Okay, and they're doing what they're told because their livelihood depends on it. And so, no, you keep it professional. You be pleasant to them. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for wasting my time. But don't get off in the weeds in that.
Yes.
You want to keep your property. Okay. You don't want them taking you to jail and hauling your property away. And because they get you one way or another. If you really want to spend money to sue them. Don't spend money to defend, because to defend is really easy because they don't have a case.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line. There is no case before the court to adjudicate.
They don't have a case. They've got deep pockets, and they can run out the clock on you.
Right.
Hey,
well,
John,
you got to understand the court commands certain things of the judge. It's not the judge's court. It's the people's court, and the court commands. Okay. You got to know how to command the court. And I would tell everybody out there, and I'm not affiliated, but I have this course. Get on there, Jurisdiction by Dr. Graves. He's a retired attorney out of Florida. And it's the best money you'd ever spent because it teaches you the court process. Okay.
Right.
That's a real good tool. Anybody that's been successful doing this, has figured out, hey, this guy knows what, this guy's helping us.
Okay. Well, I'm not done with this, and I will be calling you, if not tonight, definitely tomorrow. But we have got to get on the horn, and we got to talk about this, and we got to hammer something out that we can distribute to the masses to teach people this stuff and defend themselves.
I can go ahead and give me a call. I'll send you those documents after we talk.
Okay.
Because it's free for spread it out. It's free for everybody. But just like I said, it's not a silver bullet. It's not gonna solve your problem if you don't know what's in it. You don't understand what's in it, because they're gonna test you, and that's where they're gonna hem people up.
Right.
So people better get serious, because your money and your livelihood, your life is on the line. And I'll leave it at that. But I'll look forward to your call, Brian.
Okay, brother. Hey, thank you for calling in, John.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, John, you're on the line.
Hey,
I'm sorry,
Brian.
Robert, you're on the line. How you doing, Robert?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I always appreciate what you do, and I think your channel is great. But what you've done for Chili the past however long he's been in jail now, maintaining his channel, I think it really shows your character, man. It's really, really honorable, and I want you to know that. I hope you hear that often.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It means a lot, man.
Yeah. So, the reason for my call is because I kind of been bouncing around with this. I've been struggling with this within our community, the freedom community, the censorship. So, I saw yesterday on the last live, there was a few people criticizing and maybe taking shots at Chili in the chat, and the moderators, boom, they immediately kicked me. I have a problem with that, and I know you don't do that on your channel. You don't co-sign that.
No, let me just set the record straight. I got a serious problem with that too. I mean, oh my gosh, censorship is literally forcing somebody against their will into silence, and I do not do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, and if we're going to stand on principle and stand for freedom and freedom of speech and freedom to bear arms, we have to be consistent on that all across the board. They come with this crap that, you don't have free speech on YouTube. Well, then you don't really stand for free speech, do you? It's just when it's convenient for you, or you want to pretend like you're part of this movement, but you're really not. It's not in your soul. It's in my spirit, man. I tell you, recently they passed this Supreme Court ruling that the illegal immigrants can own firearms. I thought it was a great ruling. I think that these rights are inalienable. They're given by God. I believe in God, or whatever anyone believes in, but they're your rights. They're not to be granted or taken away by government. I
Amen.
thought it was a rare occasion that the Supreme Court ruled correctly. Uh, I'm not happy about the immigration, what's going on in the country, the flood of illegals, and that's another conversation, I suppose. But I think those people have every right to the freedom of speech, to the right to bear arms, and all the other freedoms that we're supposed to honor and stand on in this country.
Yeah, I agree. And let me give a caveat to the censorship thing. The only time that I would get involved and maybe put somebody in timeout is if they're mass posting to the point where it's getting in the way of other people saying stuff. And I always equate it to if 10 of us decided to get together and have a meetup in, let's say, my house or your house, and one of those 10 people came in and they were actually a covert troll, and they got out a bullhorn and they constantly were saying stuff to where we couldn't talk. Now they're infringing on other people's freedoms, and that guy needs to be removed from the room. So other than that, somebody is free to come in and say whatever they want to say. And hey, truth fears no scrutiny. Maybe I need to hear what this guy has to say who's disagreeing with me because my perspective is wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, and I'll tell you, just to add on to that, yesterday, I commented in the chat and I said, hey, who's kicking people? Because it wasn't intentionally disruptive or trolling or spamming. It was people coming in and making their commentary and stirring up conversation, but it wasn't overbearing by any means. And I just saw a person get kicked there, one after the other. And then I got muted yesterday. So, and then some of the other moderators are cheering on. Greg B was the moderator who kicked me. And then the other moderators are cheering him on. And it's like, dude, I'm 100% with you guys. I'm just saying, let these people speak their piece. Who cares if they disagree? And they weren't being overbearing. They weren't being over the top, disrespectful or rude. And I just really was grossed out by that. And I think as a community, we all need to stand together on principle for what's really important here, which is freedom and individuality. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see it while you're driving, but I just posted a chat supposition under the video. It's from this guy named Scott, and he says, "Are you going to marry your boyfriend Chili, Brian?" And I posted that because I think that is freaking funny, number one, and number two, from the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. How much more when somebody has to go through the thought process, and then the neurons in the brain have to fire for your fingers to type that, and then you got to press enter. So now I know everything that I need to know about Scott's heart. This guy is not interested in having any kind of an honest dialogue, and I love that. And if you censor that, how are you ever going to know what kind of guy Scott is?
Right, and now you got that marking on you. So now we know who you are. So we know when you're being disingenuous.
Yep, exactly.
And that's what it's about. So that's really all I wanted to say, man. I appreciate you letting me on to speak my piece, and like I beg for you, and tenfold now for what you're doing for Chile. You're a good man, and I really appreciate that, and you're a pillar of the community. So thank you.
Man, that's humbling, Robert. I really appreciate it. Thanks for checking in.
You got it, brother.
All right, take care. Okay, guys, I think wow, 2 hours and 13 minutes. Holy cow. Holy freaking cow. All right, let me just go over this. I don't know. If you want to check out the interpretation on the Nevada Revised Statute 197.190, which is what they got Chile for, or one of the reasons they got Chile. The upper court, there was a writ of certiorari, which means applying to an upper court to review the decision of a lower court. And what the upper court concluded was that NRS 197.190 applies only to physical conduct or fighting words. Now, the question is, what do they call physical conduct? So it's like, okay, we can get the interpretation on this Nevada Revised Statute, but what's the definition of the words within the interpretation? This is how complex it can get. This is why I kind of hate legalese, because it's like, okay, I assumed the definition was this, and the court's actually looking at the definition of like this, and it's crazy. There's another thing that I wanted to talk about is that Barry Cooper said he's interested and having a live stream discussion. With my understanding right now, I disagree with Barry Cooper, but I've seen a lot. Let me just pull something up here. Let's see if I can do this. I'm on Google Chrome, so I've got none of my tabs here. So let's see if I can go to my channel on this. Here's the deal channel.
This man.
The last video I put with the
All right, this is super.
Identifying the Nevada revised statutes. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it easily. Barry Cooper posted something under here. He said he'd be interested in a live stream. I'm not sure. I think I disagree with Barry. I'm not sure where he's coming from or what the foundation of his argument is. I'm not against Barry, guys. I'm not against James Freeman. I'm not against what I think we should do is, and the reason I mentioned James Freeman is because Barry did this video basically saying that James Freeman was wrong on his.
Can you explain this, please?
Situation with Chile. Let's see, Barry Cooper. See if I can pull this up. This is going to be challenging because my browser of choice is Firefox. So when I pull stuff like this up, it doesn't usually come up. Barry Cooper. Yeah, there it is. Barry Cooper never get busted. Just so you guys can know what I'm talking about.
Boys and girls.
Yeah, he's got this YouTube video called James Freeman Blows It, where he offers criticism, not in a bad way. He just offers criticism to James Freeman, and I don't have a problem with that either, about his viewpoint of, hey, James Freeman was saying, hey, I hate Chile. Nobody despises this man more than I do, but he's innocent. He shouldn't be in a cage, and the government did wrong. Well, as far as I understand it, Barry Cooper is basically saying, no, the government didn't do wrong. The government did right. He says that he's against law enforcement and the injustice system and all this kind of stuff. So there's a misunderstanding that I probably have here. That's why I want to have an open discussion and dialogue with Barry, because like I said, truth fears no scrutiny. And I want to go with, I want to go with what's true, and I don't want to be immersed in the cult of personality, which really can warp your senses. You don't like the entire Constitution. Why would you like a part of the Constitution that says, well, first of all, there are amendments that have been stricken. One of the ones was prohibition. Prohibition is an absolute violation of the spirit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So why would you be for that, Scott? And then I'm also against, says who that Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes? Says who? Of course, I'm not for everything in the Constitution. When I talk about the Constitution, and maybe it's a mistake to go overbroad with it, but I'm just talking about those articles that succinctly articulate rights that you have, not because they were given to you or because they were codified on parchment 250 years ago, but because they're just truth. So of course I don't like the entire Constitution. I agree with Lysander Spooner. Whatever the Constitution may be, this thing is certain. It's either authorized such a tyrannical government as we have, or it's been powerless to stop it. So in either case, it's unfit to exist. And yet here we are. So Standing Tall 710, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, Brian, how you doing, man?
Good.
Hey, I just wanted to jump on and make a quick comment about that first guy you had on. He was talking a lot of stuff that some of us older guys refer to as the Carl Miller doctrine. He's absolutely correct in what he was saying when he was talking about challenging jurisdiction and how that jurisdiction works. So I just want to jump on and throw my 2 cents on there about how right the guy is. I spent 13 years studying exactly what he was talking about, and it's point on.
So have you had personal experience in challenging jurisdiction?
So I've done a couple of different things in that regard. I'm one of them guys that's a free traveler. I've not had what you refer to as the driver's license for about 25 years.
And are you being messed with?
I do get stopped. I do get cited. I've had my vehicles towed. I had a police officer actually threaten to kill me in front of my children over not having a driver's license, which is why I went and started filming all this.
And
So,
right now, you don't have a license plate on the back of your vehicle?
So I'm not in my vehicle at all right now.
Okay.
So if the vehicle I'm in does have a plate per se, I don't have a personal vehicle at the moment. And so I've not been in one that doesn't have a plate for quite a while. But if I do travel, even if I'm in a plated vehicle, I often will go to court. I get cited. You go to court and you either get that dismissed or there's other what you refer to as tricks to make it, as he was saying, the prosecution likes to make things disappear. You know, once they realize they're not going to get you on something, they like to make things disappear.
All right, guys.
I
I just put Standing Tall's link to his, because you have a YouTube. We've chatted before, right? You're Standing Tall 710 from the YouTube channel.
Yep.
So this
Yes,
is
sir.
YouTube. This is I've got it on the screen. Standing Tall. What's your first name?
Jeff.
Jeff. Okay, so I got Jeff's channel right here. This is Standing Tall 710. Jeff, on your channel, do you have successful right to travel videos?
No, not at all. Not at
Okay.
all. Everything on my channel right now is just observational videos. Me as the cameraman. The last court dealings I actually dealt with, I had some people intrude on my property. They assaulted me because I have a record, because I went to prison for smoking flowers. They charged me with assault rather than those people. So I got 3 counts of assault, and when I went to court, using the castle defense, I was able to justify my actions in front of a jury of my peers and was found not guilty. So that's probably about the only thing on my channel about me being in court. And mainly for that is I just don't do things anymore that's going to violate the law, if you will.
Right.
You know, I don't think we need to violate the law in order to stand up and expose these things the way they are. Or you know, the police are exposing themselves is the reality.
Right. Let me ask you a question. So if you get pulled over without a license plate and without a license, how do you handle it? What's the first thing you say to the cop? How do you try to diffuse the situation?
Okay, so one of the first things I tell people all the time, the side of the road is no place for an argument. The man you're dealing with has a gun and an ego, and he just as soon as shoot you as talk with you. So you don't deal with the police officers on the side of the road. If you get pulled over, you don't have a license, and you need to stand on these rights, you do that in a courtroom. A courtroom, by definition, is a place to settle arguments.
So what do you do when they go, hey, you got to step out of the vehicle, you don't have a license, we can't have you drive away, we're going to impound your vehicle?
Well, I generally have somebody with me that is licensed and what have you, and if they push it that far, I'm going to go ahead and comply and let them exchange, you know, put a licensed driver in the seat. I have had them pull me out of the car. Like I said, that one officer, Utah County Sheriff's Officer, Reese, I believe was his name, told me in front of my 2 children, he says, do you want me to shoot you in front of your children over this? I have children, and you have to make a decision whether you want to get killed in front of your children or just go ahead and comply with a little bit of tyranny and then deal with that tyranny in the courtroom. Again, side of the road is no place to argue. The man has a gun and an ego, and you're not going to win against a gun and an ego. Sometimes you have to take and bite that bullet, do exactly like Chili has done, and go to jail and fight it from in there. I think Chili's biggest mistake was he should have filed for a trial de novo, not an appeal.
And that is basically a starting over, right? De novo?
Yes, a trial de novo is a new trial. And he should have done that trial de novo based on the constitutional violations of the initial event as well as in the courtroom.
What do you think the likelihood of you submitting a de novo would be to be accepted by that court? Do you think they would do it, or do they have to do it? What's the deal with that?
Well, if he's in a justice court system and he files a trial de novo, he's actually filing that trial de novo with the district court system. So it's not even going to be the same judge that sees it. It'll be a judge above that person. And when you're in a justice court system, 9 out of 10 trial de novos are granted just out of hand, because you're moving from, like that first caller was talking about, you're moving from the administrative courts, your justice courts, into a judicial court, your district courts.
So what do
You
you think
understand
about?
what I'm saying there?
I'm slowly. I cannot say that I 100% understand. It is slowly sinking in, though. Let me just put it that way.
The long and short of it is your justice courts, your lower end courts, what they refer to as your justice courts. That's your guy, your magistrate who's going to give your marriage licenses, or
right,
or who signs the city ordinances, etc. Okay, them justice courts, they are legitimately administrative law offices. They're not courtrooms.
right.
They're an administrative law office. Their job is to collect money.
So let me ask you
And they
this:
do that through a lot of deception.
do you ever do you think there's a place, though? Because if you know what you know about driving and the privilege versus the right and the license, and all that, when the cop comes up to your window, do you ever attempt to go, hey, I understand how you look at it, and I know we're coming from two different worlds, but can I just explain my situation here? Do you ever try that?
I have done, and I do that more often than not. And again, that's again, the idea being is you don't want to argue on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So if I'm pulled over, if they have pulled me over, then I do everything I can to put that officer at ease, which is completely the opposite of what you see on my channel when I'm challenging that authority. You understand what's happened there? When they pull me over, they put me under, they're saying that they think I've committed some kind of a crime.
Under traffic
And at that
code.
point, I do comply to a certain degree because I don't want to be shot.
Yeah, because what people have to understand is there's two different worlds that are colliding during that traffic stop. One world says, oh, you done wrong, boy. You went 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, and I am obligated, because I'm a representative of the state, to bring you to bear, and you're looking at it like, I'm a free man. What's the deal? I didn't put anybody in harm. There was no victim left in my wake. It's like, so there's two opposing things right here, but one of you has a gun in the authority of the state. So the other one better act in wisdom, or he might not walk away from that situation.
That is exactly right. Hang on a half second.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. I had to lose my earbud. It was beeping in my ear.
Okay.
Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah. Did you get the two worlds colliding thing?
Yes, I did. Yes,
yeah. So that's what happened.
Listen, Brian, I really don't want to keep you long. I just wanted to throw it out there. The guy really does know what he's talking about.
Okay.
Everybody who explores these channels and explores legal and legalese should absolutely look up Carl Miller on YouTube. Start your education there. Carl Miller is literally, he is the right to travel guru, in my opinion. I have successfully used Carl Miller's right to travel step by step, if you will, to have cases dismissed and or adjudicated as not guilty. 9 out of 10 times they dismiss them because a dismissal, they're not agreeing with you. They're just saying, oh, well, we dismissed it on a technicality. Whereas if they actually adjudicate it, then it can become case law.
Is Carl Miller still alive?
Not that I'm aware of. He's been gone for a while.
Okay.
You'll find old YouTube stuff about it. You'll have to type in Carl Miller right to travel. And I think he spells his Carl with a K, but I'm not sure.
I found it with a C, but I could be on the wrong thing.
Oh, no, it's probably him. I'm probably just thinking of a wrong Carl.
What is called positive change.
That's him. That's Carl Miller right there.
Okay, cool. All right, brother. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I will be calling John tonight or tomorrow because I am interested in this because, man, let's face it. The bottom line is I just want I want to be free. I want you to be free. I want our children to be free. And if we don't do it right now, we're pretty much doomed, man.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Hey,
brother.
man, Brian, much love. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate you standing tall.
Appreciate you too, man. Thank you.
Yahoo.
What's the matter, you? It's a wonderful place. Hey.
Hey, I had a quick couple of tips, I think, about Barry Cooper in case you go end up talking to him.
Okay.
Okay, so the Tuesday that Chili ended up going to jail, his conviction, I actually went to Barry Cooper's live stream to let him know, because I know he helps people, and I was just kind of in a panicky, I don't know, it really upset me. So I went there just to tell him and see if maybe he could help or whatever. So he starts out saying that he has a lot of respect for Chili and this and that, and he's sorry to see him in jail. But then over time, as I'm watching Barry, he's getting more and more, he gave the opinion that he agreed with the conviction, which, that's his opinion, that's fine. But he started to say things like Chili's stupid and he doesn't know anything about constitutional law and this and that. And the main point that I wanted to say is I don't think it all actually comes from a particularly bad place, because as I've watched this, and I think people can go back and watch the last few Tuesday live streams of him, if they're of his, or 3 live streams if they're interested. But the more that I've watched him, as I've watched this, I'm sorry, I have scleroderma and my breath gets short.
You're good.
I noticed that it seems to be that it comes from a place where he has such an aversion and kind of also a hyper empathic reaction to seeing anybody in our prison system getting trapped up in this incarceration nation. And so he keeps on saying things like Chili's endangering a lot of people with the advice that he's giving and stuff like that. And so I kept trying to explain to Barry that he has different goals than people like you and I and Chili, because he's basically saying everybody's stupid, the whole internet's wrong except for me, blah, 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 blah. And he even got to a point where, and I have a lot of respect for Barry, but he got to a point where he's reading these trolls comments from the chat, like that ones that are saying like Chili's a convicted sex offender and this and that. I'm thinking that's awfully irresponsible when you know that there's going to be trolls out here to repeat that stuff. But I'm just saying I kind of watched it devolve, because he really has a thing about, he's motivated by not wanting to see people go to prison, and that's a different motive than the rest of us have. That's why he says that the conviction was correct and this and that, because he really wants people to understand that that's kind of the way that the courts are going to work, no matter what we want.
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to talk to Barry. I've watched a couple of his videos, and I've definitely disagreed with some of the things that he says. And I think it would be a good idea. I'm taking some of what you're saying here, and I understand what you're saying. And I just want to highlight something that you said is I don't think it's ever advantageous or beneficial for any of us to engage in an ad hominem attack against anybody, no matter how much you disagree with what they did. One of the things that I saw, and I am in agreement with, that Barry said in regard to speaking out against what Chili did, is how Chili presented himself at that hearing where they were trying to, get him out while the appeals process was going. I completely agree. And I've talked to Chili about that. I'm like, that wasn't a good look. That wasn't a good thing to do. It wasn't a good thing to do for people who follow you. It wasn't a good thing to do for people you're going to go back to prison with. And just, so I disagree with that kind of stuff. And I can keep I can keep all that stuff on the table and say that and be confident that, that's how I feel about it. But all this other stuff where, oh yeah, this is the kind of person Chili is, or this is the kind of person Barry is, I don't ever entertain any of that kind of stuff. I treat you, I treat Barry, I treat Chili, or whoever online like I would treat and talk to my neighbor that I have to, when I go out to the mailbox and I see my neighbor, I don't want them to come over with a baseball bat because I bought them out online for no freaking reason and drug their name through the
right.
mail.
And everybody, I encourage them to go double check what I'm saying, that he said or whatever. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Barry. Again, I think it comes from a good place, but what he's his kind of passion about that is my main point.
Well, we all make mistakes too, right? We all say stuff about people we probably shouldn't have said, and if we had a chance to do it all over again, we wouldn't have, but we can't. So all we can do is apologize and go on. So
Absolutely. And even Chili's, at the hearing the other day, it's easy to judge, but who they're not even letting him tell everything that's going on in there, and it's got to be hell, and he can't eat the food. And I could see myself, even as much as I would normally think there's no way in heck that I would ever do that, but I could see myself getting desperate enough to try a ploy like the little pouty lip, and
Yeah, no, and I don't. Yeah, exactly. That's another good way to look at it. I totally agree with you.
I just wanted to kind of give you that tool. I think if you go watch, you can probably figure this out, or I mean, confirm this for yourself. If you go watch those, maybe before you talk to him or whatever. But I do think that there's a little bit of a valuable insight about what's going on with this, because he started out saying he had a lot of respect for Chili, and it's just really devolved from there. And I think he's frustrated with all the people out there that are trying to say it's a wrongful conviction and whatnot, because he feels like it's going to endanger people and they're going to end up in prison too.
Yeah, and I get that too. You don't want to give somebody misinformation and then they act on that information and now they're in jail. That would suck.
Okay, that's a better way. Yeah, that's basically what I believe is going on. I think anybody can go look and see if I'm right or wrong. But
all right, man. Hey, thanks for joining.
Sorry about the breath. I guess my lungs are destroyed by the scleroderma, but I get so out of breath. But thank you very much.
You're good. Take care.
Okay.
I heard somebody say, oh no, it was a screen name. Somebody had a screen name. I can't remember. Man, I watch so much stuff. I look at so much stuff. There was a screen name that somebody had, and it was something to the effect of, I hope you have the day you deserve, or something to that effect. Could you imagine, like, when you say goodbye to somebody, it's like, hey, hope you have the day you deserve. It's like, wait, what did you mean by that? No, I know you're a good person. So if you're a good person, you're sowing good seeds. You're sowing truth and freedom and justice. So I hope you have the day you deserve. And then it makes you wonder why people stop and pause at that. Are they pausing because they're not truly the good person that you thought they were? Or are they pausing because they never quite heard that before? You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm going to start ending conversations like that. I'm going to start going, hey, take it easy, man. I hope you have the day you deserve. Wait, what did you mean by that? Because think about it, if you're a truth teller, if you're a truth seeker, then you're sowing seeds of freedom and truth and goodness and goodwill all over the place. So what kind of day do you deserve? You deserve good for goodness to visit you and visit you often and sit down in an easy chair and pour a drink and have a meal. You deserve goodness to come into your house. But if you're another kind of person, if your profession, if you signed on the dotted line, if you voluntarily put yourself in a position where you're going to be using your authority to abuse others, well, then you deserve the day that you got and the seeds that you sowed. It's like, what is that? There's a saying, we reap what we sow, right? If you sow good seeds, if you sow in your garden, let's take a garden. If you sow tomato seeds, and if you sow corn seeds and broccoli seeds, guess what? You get tomatoes and corn and broccoli. But if you sow weeds, and you don't even have to sow weeds in this world, somehow they find their way into your garden and you got to pick the weeds out. But if you sow bad things, you're gonna reap bad things. If you sow good things, guess what? You're gonna reap good things. Now, sometimes you can sow a lot of good things and a lot of bad things will happen to you, but that's not because of you. That's because maybe the universe is trying to test you so you can be a better person than you already are. And you've been given, it's like a trust that you've been given. It's like, oh, I'm gonna really ratchet up the heat on you, man. And we're gonna put you in the crucible, in the fire, and we're gonna purify you, and we're gonna knock off that dross so we can have that 0.999% silver. So it's interesting. I hope you get the day you deserve. I hope every cop gets the day they deserve. If they are reaping tyranny, I hope they get the day they deserve. If you're reaping and sowing good things, I hope you get the day you deserve. So I appreciate you guys. I probably should have been out of here 39 minutes ago, but we're at 2 hours and 39 minutes. I appreciate you guys joining. Thank you so much, guys. It's super humbling. Remember, in the comments below, in the description below, you will see the support links for Hendry, for Flex Your Freedoms, and of course for Chili, because I know that's what Chili would be doing. And for, I'll include them for Direct D. Let's take a look at Direct D's fundraiser right now and just click the refresh button. So he's still at 8317. So we need to help Direct D too. So I'm doing this because I want to do this. It's in my heart to do this. And I know if Chili was here, he'd be raising money for the same thing, for the same people, because he loves freedom too. So I appreciate you guys. Share these videos, binge watch these videos. Let's keep Chili's channel rolling while he's out there in the rape cage. And, let's just sow a whole lot of goodness. I appreciate you. Remember, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. Stop securing your oppression and start today. I will see you guys in the next live stream. Take care.